All right. Um, doing that. All right. Good to go now. How's everyone doing tonight? Doing okay myself. A little bit tired, but can push through. Doing pretty good. That's good. All right, so I guess we're gonna watch the stuff that I wanted to watch last just chatting stream, being a little bit of the Russia Ukraine stuff. So I guess let's just start with the second thought video, which happens to be one of my favorite creators on YouTube. So let's start off with it. He is right about that. This is only his second video that he has only been late, or the second video he's only been late on. The other one was the January 6th stuff. Yep. Oh,
The invasion/war in Ukraine is unequivocally wrong.
really do
Even
that.
if you were to take Russia's rhetoric about NATO expansion at face value, which, yes, NATO has been kicking the hornet's nest for some time now, this conflict is a dramatic, dangerous, and
I mean, to be honest, I honestly think NATO shouldn't even exist. Like, they only exist to, their entire reasoning for existing. Yeah, it was just something in OBS that I didn't fix. The entire reason for NATO existing was to uh, essentially make the USSR implode on itself, and that was pretty much it. And like, since the USSR already fell, like in the late '90s, like I don't really see a reason for it to exist, honestly, outside of being like an aggressor towards like Russia and now possibly China as well.
horrific overreaction. My heart goes out to the people of these two countries who will suffer terribly in a war they did not want. In this
Yep,
episode, I'm
they
going
did
to
not
try
want
and
it.
answer a couple of questions, like the one in the title, is Putin crazy? But I'll mostly be looking into why that question gets asked in the first place, how useful it is, both in the short and the long term, and what focusing on that question leaves out of the picture. This video is going to try to understand this whole situation a little bit better without getting into the specific details of the conflict. We're not going to rehash the whole history of Ukraine or Russia. We're not going to go into the details about Euromaidan or Crimea. we're going to look at the way
Those are their own separate topics. Like Crimea is and Euromaidan, like those are crazy. Like there's those like would have probably like their own like dedicated stream to them. That's how tense they are.
we tell the story of the conflict, not the conflict itself. Significant chunks of this video will be speculative. Most analysis of the conflict is at this time. So,
I mean, a lot of information has came out since this video was posted. But I do imagine on what a lot of what he's going to be saying is true. So, not really too sure on what he's gonna have.
take everything I say with a grain of salt, and I invite you to respond to this video and critique it to your heart's content. In any case, this video won't come down on a single conclusion for each topic, but rather put out a couple ideas and leave it up to you to decide what you want to take away. So, let's get back to Putin. Recently, this is the kind of coverage he's been getting.
He is just basking in his own hubris.
Do you think that he has it in him, and Putin in particular, to actually pull that lever, so to speak, or press that button?
Well, I personally think he's unhinged.
Senator Marco Rubio posted a tweet that caught my attention. He said, "I wish I could share more, but for now I can say it's pretty obvious to many that something is off with Putin. He has always been a killer, but his problem now is different and significant. It would be a mistake to assume this Putin would react the same way he would have 5 years ago."
Putin turns out to be far...
Bro, this is just crazy. US does so much of this stuff. It's not even like Russia doesn't even come close. Like it's just crazy to me on how much they have much shit they've done in the, like even like recently. It's just crazy.
far crazier than we had any idea.
Because he's a crazy psycho that is now a terrorist, a #1 terrorist in the world.
This is different. He seems erratic. There is an ever-deepening delusional rendering of history.
For a lot of observers, Putin does seem crazy, and there's some evidence that, in the short term, talking about the Russia-Ukraine conflict by focusing on Putin being crazy has had some advantages. As we've seen, it is one of the factors that has brought a lot of nations together in supporting Ukraine, leveraging their military resources, economic power, and diplomatic platforms to criticize, deter, and weaken the Russian aggression. At least, that's the hope for the alliance led by the West. The positive outcome being, hopefully, a swift end to the conflict and to the immediate violence on the ground.
I mean, like, of course that Russia was going to be becoming more aggressive when Ukraine wanted to join NATO, because it sees NATO as a fucking threat. Like, if your enemy was expanding on your backyard, I'm pretty sure you would too. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, the same thing happened essentially to Crimea, if I remember correctly.
A negative peace. Both within Russia and in cities all over the world, we've seen protests against the war and against Putin himself. There's no doubt that that kind of public support is justifying and being used as justification for the response to Russia. It is fueling the image of Putin as a deranged maniac that needs to be stopped right away. So far, that framing has been effective in souring public opinion on the conflict and pushing for peace talks, though with some important limitations.
Except that it really hasn't, though. Like, no peace talks have really been happening, and like the only country that can do that is the US, but they're not going to do that. Not anytime soon, I don't think.
We'll get to in a second. There's also the nuclear issue. The fear that has been stoked by Putin's escalating rhetoric around nuclear weapons. Specifically, the idea that a deranged Putin could press the button no one with any shred of sanity would ever press has likely contributed to the haste with which bystander countries have pushed for diplomatic resolutions to the conflict. It is incredibly scary to imagine nuclear warfare breaking out. And
the irony in that, though, is the US is the one essentially going around policing and saying who gets to have nukes, which, well, honestly, I'd rather have no one have nukes, but that's not going to happen. And considering that, like, and considering that the US is the one going around policing nukes, I find it a little bit hypocritical, considering that they're the only ones that have actually used nukes, and twice. Like, it's just silly to me. And a little bit hypocritical that, you can't... That, like, they're the ones that are going around policing everything, even though that they've been using... Or that they've been the only ones that actually have used nukes in the past. And, like, no one else has. Even though, like, there are a bunch of, like, unfit leaders that do have nukes.
And people know that and will do anything to avoid it. This, again, will hopefully mean a quick return to a negative peace between the two countries, but is of course a net positive for Russian interests, which can leverage this situation for an upper hand in negotiations. That upper hand might force Ukraine to make significant concessions, ultimately giving Russia territorial or other gains without the invading country needing to get them through the more quote-unquote conventional use of total occupation.
He's right.
There is a chance that Putin knows this and is exploiting what's called the madman theory. He knows that threatening nuclear warfare is not credible to anybody who rationally balances out the pros, minor territorial, symbolic, and economic victories, with the cons, the annihilation of the human species. So he is purposefully playing up the image of a madman who can't rationally balance these two sides. Acting convincingly crazy gives him the upper hand in negotiations because it makes nuclear warfare seem like it could be real, even though it is utterly irrational. For the West and Ukraine, this poses a challenge.
Yeah, like, I honestly don't see nuclear warfare happening. It's not gonna happen. Like, especially, like, if they were to, like, bomb Ukraine, because I don't think that's gonna happen. Because, again, like, Ukraine is, like, right in their vicinity. Excuse me. They're, like, right in their vicinity, so it doesn't really make sense that they would. Considering that the fact that, Moscow is quite literally within the blast radius of, like, all of Ukraine, like, or at least pretty much all of Ukraine. Like, it's crazy it's just psychotic that people think that.
Of how to respond to Putin. On the one hand, treating the nuclear threat at face value gets countries to the negotiation table quickly, but on unequal terms. On the other, it makes military support and intervention complicated.
Would it be like setting a spider on wants to kill a spider? I mean, yeah, essentially, yes. Because, like, it just doesn't make sense that they would, right? Because it's not gonna happen. Like, we had an entire Cold War between the Soviets and the US, like, with mutually assured destruction. Like, it's not gonna happen. And, like, I know that Ukraine has been crying out for a no-fly zone for such a long time. Like, it's been at least 2 or 3 weeks at this point, but that's also not going to happen either. Because it's essentially the equivalent of, oh, hey, if we make a no-fly zone, it's essentially the equivalent to boots on the ground, because what a no-fly zone is that means that you have to have either US or NATO troops, or NATO planes, sorry, shooting down the Russian planes. That's what a no-fly zone is, and it's not gonna happen.
In one theory, it slows down any sort of Western military action. If Putin is crazy and his biggest perceived threat is NATO, pushing his buttons will lead us straight into nuclear Armageddon, so the West should not intervene. According to another way of thinking, if Putin is crazy, everything is on the table to stop him, so the West has to intervene. The latter, by the way, is the kind of logic that comes up when people are asked how we should deal with terrorists.
Yep, the exact same thing has happened in the Middle East time and time again. except that the West can't fucking bully Russia. That's the main difference. But we were able to do it to fucking the Middle East, any South America, and even places like in Africa as well. Like, it's just ridiculous.
According to an experiment by Princeton researchers, if test subjects are told that terrorists are bloodthirsty fanatics, maniacs ready to spill the blood of millions of people, they are more likely to advocate for unilateral military responses and, removal attempts. When terrorists are presented...
He's just saying assassinations and stuff like that, because usually... Because remember, apparently brown people are terrorists, even though that's not true, considering that Western forces do the most amount of terror in the world, especially the U.S. So, yeah, like, we assassinate, like, the West assassinates, like, democratically elected socialist or communist leaders. And then either fund right-wing death squads to take care of the problem, or they fund ideological fascists in order to get what they want, for like the almighty dollar, because that's what our world revolves around.
As rational, they're more likely to advocate.
And like, real quick, when it comes to like the terrorist conversation, and like especially like in the Middle East, like with that really, really big guy that was he was kind of famous around like the very early O's, the very, very late 1990s. What was his name again? Bin Laden? They were... Yeah, no, the U.S. was offered him by the Afghanistan government, but they famously did not want to take him because Bush said we don't negotiate with terrorists. Like, Bush is just fucking awful. Let's be real. But yeah, no, they were offered Bin Laden, but they said that they didn't want him.
For negotiation. These two ideas, the madman theory and the terrorist example, are contradictory. In one theory, being crazy gets you to the negotiation table. In the other, it's being sane that gets you negotiating.
Yep.
The big reason for that difference is nuclear weapons. When you have to factor in the death and destruction of everyone and everything you love, how you treat an irrational actor is very different. This puts the West and its media institutions in a complicated position. Treat Putin as a madman, and you can justify your role in this war. You can play off the fear and frustration that gets ordinary people to start thinking about what would happen if Putin was removed tomorrow. But it also means you'll have to negotiate against the guy with the upper hand. Treat him like a rational actor who would never ever detonate a nuclear weapon, and you risk getting it wrong like you did with this invasion. Except this time, the consequence is nuclear annihilation. Because remember that less than a month ago, Putin's threats to invade Ukraine weren't thought of as very credible to many outside observers. Even for those who warned of Russian aggression, the idea that so much of the country, including Kyiv, would be bombed didn't seem likely. Putin knows this. He knows how his unpredictability shapes the responses he gets, and is purposefully leveraging it. That, or he's genuinely deranged. We might never know. I'll give you my thoughts at the end.
I do think that Putin's a madman, but I think he's more calculated than what people give him credit for. Like, he is 100% crazy, but he knows what he's doing.
Overall, treating Putin as a deranged warmonger seems to have been a rough net positive, at least up to this point and in the short term. More important caveats coming soon. On the whole, it has been a key factor in stopping nuclear warfare from breaking out, assuming that threat was at the very least possible, and it has created urgency around diplomatic resolution, even if on extortionary terms. That is certainly better than the alternative, nuclear annihilation or never-ending conflict. Unfortunately, the forest might start getting lost in the trees depending on how the rest of this short-term response is carried out. In the scramble to arm Ukraine, Western countries may be creating a new Afghanistan. The West could be arming paramilitary.
We literally are. Like, we literally are. We are creating a new Afghanistan. There's no question about that. We are, like, a lot of Western weapons are going to, like, neo-Nazi groups, like the Azov Battalion, for example. We're fucking training them. We're providing as much support as we can to them. Like, it's fucking nuts. Like, I know that the Azov Battalion, like, isn't, like, it's like, I think they got, like, I think they're, like, 4% of the Ukrainian population, but their numbers have been growing because, you know, they're seen as one of the inside forces that can defeat the fucking Russians. So of course they're gonna be gaining more support in war. Like, that's only natural that that's gonna happen.
Military organizations which, once the immediate conflict is settled, could pose an internal threat and would inevitably be used to justify more lethal aid, more interventions, and more imperialist aggression, the kind we've seen ravage the Middle East for decades. What Western countries see as the most reasonable short-term response, giving Ukraine the means to defend itself against a much more powerful aggressor, may lead to unintended consequences. Or hell, maybe they are intended, I wouldn't be surprised. Consequences that could bring proxy imperialist wars back to the forefront of international relations in the long term. There's also a concern that treating Putin like this has actually done the opposite of the escalate to de-escalate strategy, with some still very minor today, but nonetheless present voices calling for a preemptive strike or a full-scale NATO involvement. Again, this is highly speculative. Thinking about
The biggest problem, like, again, with the NATO involvement is that it's just gonna be nuclear holocaust. That's all it's gonna be. And it's like one of the stupidest things that we can actually do. Like, there's a lot of unknowns, and like there's still a lot of unknowns and everything, but I don't think that NATO involvement will solve anything. It'll probably just make things worse.
the short term, with so many competing narratives and the uncertainty surrounding Putin's mental state, leads to an impossible number of forks and alternative histories, many of them terrifying to imagine. When thinking about the long term, then, it may be beneficial to subscribe to a different way of telling history. Instead of focusing on the individual, and therefore subscribing to the great man theory of history, the idea that history is shaped by great leaders above all else, it may be better to understand the conflict from a more institutional, economic, and materialistic approach.
Yep,
A
I completely
historical
agree.
materialism of some sort, if that was even a real thing. I've certainly never heard of it. And before we do, just to be clear, focusing on Putin at a time like this is not entirely wrong. Putin sits at the helm of a country he has profoundly shaped for over 2 decades. The way Russia acts in most affairs does usually boil down to whatever Putin says, because his status as an autocrat grants him far more decision-making power than any one person should ever have. The point of a historical materialist approach isn't to deny that, but to explain how it is that he gets to have such a strong decision-making power in the first place, and what factors exist that guide and constrain, or alternatively give him carte blanche when he is exercising it. At the time of writing, some people are predicting that the heavy costs of sanctions and military operations against Russia will make Putin incredibly unpopular at home and abroad, possibly ending up with him not leading Russia anymore. If that is the case, if Putin does leave office, our fixation on him and him alone may lead to an overconfidence in the stability of whatever peace we hopefully get on the other side. Just because Putin is out of the picture doesn't mean everything is okay. So our analysis of the conflict must also take into account what will survive after Putin is gone.
I mean, I honestly don't think that anything's gonna happen. Like, I don't think Putin's gonna be, like, removed from office. I don't think it will happen, but it could. And, like, the whole sanctions and everything, it's just more or less been hurting the Russian people more than anything. Like, yeah, like, we've sanctioned oil from Russia, but that ultimately doesn't even matter because, you know, since we're so reliant on fossil fuels and everything, we're still going to be using Russian oil even after the conflict. Like, companies say that they're going to be pulling out, but I honestly don't think that they're going to be stayed pulled out forever. Like, they want to make money. The way that you actually, like, cut off Russia from global hegemonic power in the form of energy is by becoming energy independent in the form of nuclear energy and green energy. Not taking in Russian oil or just oil in general. Like that's how you're gonna like stop with all the Russia, like that's how you're actually gonna hurt Russia when it comes to like economically. Because it doesn't matter, we're most likely gonna be buying more Russian oil later.
Let's give that a shot. Thus far, the analysis of the Ukraine-Russia conflict has been done on two big lines. According to the liberal philosophy of international relations, this
we're going to be watching this video after. I hear that I heard that when it was uploaded, it was fairly accurate. I'm not too sure if that still holds, but we can still see.
Conflict has been driven by ideas and international institutions. Putin is committed to the idea of a unified Russian identity inherited from the USSR and the greater history of Russian nations. Putin wants Ukraine, or at least part of it, because he is interested in uniting all people who are tied to the Russian identity and history they share. Debates in liberal circles are over the degree to which Ukrainians in the east of the country are really more like Russians, and whether that's sufficient justification for the breach of international law. Usually, in the West at least, their answer is no. The other line of thinking, what is usually called the realist philosophy of international relations, sees this conflict in terms of military power and influence. Russia is invading Ukraine to keep the country as a barrier to NATO expansion and the threat of being undermined by a strong military at its borders in the future. Likewise, the realist analysis on the other side is that Russia is taking over Ukraine to expand its own influence and destabilize the EU. Debates here are about what threat NATO or Russia actually poses in terms of influence and military power. While there is an element of truth to both these philosophies, especially because different political leaders are desperately trying to make either one seem more true by acting as if it was, the third, less popular approach to this conflict is through the Marxist analysis of international relations. That's the historical materialism I mentioned.
I mean, the Marxist analysis generally does tend to be the least popular out of them anyways. Especially over here in the West. Due to things like McCarthyism and right scare propaganda.
Earlier, this analysis tends to focus on the way in which economics and economic institutions play a role in explaining this war, and more generally sees economic motivations as the foundation upon which politics generally, and liberal and realist philosophies more specifically, can play out in the first place. Each theory is basically competing about which one comes first, not really about which one gets it right. They all kind of get part of it right in one way or another. Marxists see this conflict as being the consequence of an accumulation of economic and political power into a few hands. Following the fall of the USSR, the liberalization of Russia was dominated by the privatization of industries previously under state control. In their place,
yeah, so like everything from food consumption to energy production under the USSR was all owned by the state and the people. And following the liberalization of Russia, a lot of private entities and corporations either came in or they had sprung up like in native Russia or native Russian industries, and they're making a fuck ton of money now.
Oligarchs who were either well connected in the former USSR or exceedingly capable of navigating the newly liberalized economy consolidated major sectors of the economy, notably fossil fuels, into their very few hands. Thanks to this concentrated economic power, they were able to have a high degree of influence on politics, carrying Putin and his support for their endeavors into the highest office, from which he could carry national economic policy in a few key directions, specifically.
If I remember correctly, I think Putin has a lot of friends that are in the energy sector to begin with. So it's just crazy on how much they actually have, or how many friends he has in the energy sector, and how much money they make. They make a fuck ton of money. Because they have the biggest oil reserves on the planet, and they also export a fuck ton of oil as well.
To enrich his buddies, while they both kept one another on a tight leash. It shouldn't be surprising that this is an unstable economic system, especially given how central a few key, non-renewable resources are to the whole operation. Unlike the countries to its west, Russia did not benefit from a Marshall Plan that would have bolstered its capitalist economy within a strong network of cooperation with the big daddy of global economics, the US. Russia's privatization and primitive accumulation came with all the pitfalls and punishments of liberalism unadulterated, creating a punishing austerity for the general population, but lucrative profits for a few at the top. This allowed for and promoted a single figurehead with vision.
Look at how young he looks. I've never seen Putin this young. That's just crazy to me. He looks so young. He looks like, I don't know, fucking 40.
Of expansion at its helm. Because when domestic crises begin in a capitalist society, they'll often turn towards nationalism and look at outward expansion for solutions. Of course, Russia isn't in a vacuum. While all this is happening, Ukraine is modernizing its agriculture and energy sources, cutting off Russian gas slowly, taking its role as a channel for Russian gas for the rest of Europe slowly off the table, and proving the value of its rich black soil, an incredibly fertile ground and a major source of profit. These are trends that Russian oligarchs have kept an eye on for a long time, threatening their profits the further away Ukraine gets from them, and a big reason to keep courting Ukrainian politicians. And look, I may not have all the details. Like most of you, this wasn't on my radar just a few weeks ago, and the quote, real motivations behind this war are anybody's guess at this point. But if you think this sort of materialist analysis has some weight, you can see how focusing on Putin alone might pose an issue for the future. Once Putin is gone, that is, if Putin is gone, the economic relations between different countries in Europe and within Russia and its oligarchs will not disappear. There will be a tense relationship between Russia, a country with an economy dependent on resources many countries are trying to make obsolete, and the rest of Europe, increasingly wary of the influence and economic struggle Russia can create by turning off the gas. In that sense, while the character...
I mean, yeah, he is right about that. And, like, if, you know, people in the West, like, whether it be like us or in Europe, actually focus on renewable energy and nuclear energy, it will cause the current form of Russian, governance and the oligarchy to fall. Like, because a lot of Russia's economy revolves around the oil industry, especially to Europe.
The character of Putin's invasion of Ukraine is entirely his own. The motivations that have pushed Putin into war precede him and any recent changes in international politics. He made the decision, an awful one, but the prevailing economic system and the specific way in which it was imposed on the post-USSR countries, with highly concentrated economic and political power in the hands of a few oligarchs, created the conditions in which Putin could make his decision and hope for it to be a good one for his economic interests.
And, like, post-USSR, like, a lot of the Soviet, like, post-Soviet countries, like, things are a lot more complicated than the West likes to think that it is. Like, it is just really complicated. Like, even I have problems trying a way to explain it to people that don't inherently understand the concepts. Like, it's very complex. It's a huge spider web of things.
Really awful economic interest at that. To summarize this whole video, personalizing this conflict and making it about Putin makes sense in the short term. Over the long term, it doesn't become irrelevant, but it isn't nearly so central. Putin and the Ukraine-Russia war can therefore also be seen as a warning call for other countries with increasingly monopolistic capitalist economies and political systems prone to autocratic co-optation. When the scramble for resources begins, a network of genuine solidarity between ordinary working people has the best chance of staving off war. The same can't be said of a global network based on maximizing profits and national competition with a handful of all-powerful people calling the shots. We can make pragmatic decisions in the short term, but should never lose sight of that fact. For what it's worth, I don't think Putin is crazy, but I do think he's been in power a long time and has grown accustomed to doing whatever he wants, regardless of what his advisors have to say. Finally, as a last addendum, don't try to use bits and pieces of this analysis to justify any sort of imperialism, whether that's whatever Putin's Russia is doing or sending Western intervention into Ukraine. There is no justification for the violence we've seen and for calls to escalate. We can understand the motivations and economic context that has made our current situation more likely without falling into deterministic thinking, that is, assuming all this was destined to happen, or believing these actions are justified. They are not. War isn't a spectator sport as the internet would have you believe. It's not a Marvel movie with clearly defined good guys and bad guys.
Yeah, it's... For me, the Russia-Ukraine war is very, very gray. Money is more important. Money is more important, people, at least. That is what Putin is thinking. I mean, yeah, like, post-Soviet Russia, yes. But, like, we do the exact same thing here. It's just that we're able to bully the other countries into doing what we want. Like, we're usually on the opposite side of this.
We should not be rooting for one army to massacre another. Those soldiers don't stand to gain anything from this conflict. They're normal people just like you and me. The only people who will come out on top are those at the levers of power of the bloodthirsty imperialist nations. All we should be calling for is for this conflict to be resolved quickly, without a ransacking of Ukraine, without nuclear weapons being detonated, without the expansion of NATO, and through diplomacy.
Oh, 100%. Like, but it hasn't happened yet, because the US doesn't want to engage in peace talks, because, remember, they don't negotiate with terrorists. And, like, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, how long does this violent war have to go on for? Like, I'm getting tired of, you know, fucking brothers and sisters in, like, Ukraine, on the Ukrainian side and the Russian side, having to fucking die for a bunch of nonsense. Like, it's so stupid.
No war but class war.
True.
If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to help me produce...
It was a good video, by second thought. It's pretty good. Talking about your feelings matters when it comes to lives of millions. I mean, yeah, but when it comes to war, it doesn't really matter, because the poor and the working class are the ones that are going to inherently be at the mercy of whoever. Like, the wealthy business executives or CEOs or politicians, they're not in any fucking danger. if you ever have money, you're never in danger. Like, it's just ridiculous on how many people have to fucking die for this. So stupid. I fucking hate war. Okay, let's move on to the Johnny Harris video on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Was it this one? Yes, it was.
Дальнейших шагах на этом направлении. Еще раз подчеркну, что Украина для нас это не просто соседняя страна. Это неотъемлемая часть нашей собственной истории, культуры, духовного пространства. Это наши товарищи, близкие, среди которых не только коллеги, друзья, бывшие сослуживцы.
Why are you doing this? Why are you fighting this needless war?
Ну и родственники.
This war of conquest that will topple so many lives.
Жители юго-западных исторических.
He sent his forces, his missiles, in the middle of the night. These are the troops, hundreds of thousands of them, that had been camped out on the border for months. Troops that Putin had insisted were there for a routine military exercise, and that the US and UK intel swore were actually preparing to invade. Many around the world, including in Ukraine, thought that this was just the West being dramatic, stoking the tensions. But the intel was exactly right.
It was right for once. They've always done that. But like now, since they're like right for once, like since the Western intel was right for once, they are going to like prop this up so well and be like, "Oh, look at us. We were right about this. Come on, guys, believe us."
Most of those troops crossed the border last week and are now inside the country.
Russian military vehicles, including tanks, entering Ukraine.
The invasion, the attack that Russia promised would never happen, has now started.
The country is being attacked from all directions.
Hours after this invasion started in the middle of the night on Thursday morning, Ukraine's president...
Conspiracy theories. Got it right. But only this one time. I mean, not even conspiracy theories. Like, you had the U.S. State Department pushing this for years, like ever since the Crimea incident. And they're like, oh, they're gonna push into Ukraine next. Oh, they're gonna push into Ukraine next. Like they've said that year after year. And like the reason why I didn't initially think anything about it, like when the Russian troops were gathering around, was because I knew for a fact that Russia had like a bunch of fucking training going on there. So I initially just shrugged it off, like it was gonna be nothing. But I guess this one time I was wrong.
President Zelensky appeared on TV, not just to talk to his people, but to speak directly to Russians themselves.
Я обращаюсь к российским гражданам как гражданин Украины.
We share a border of over 2,000 kilometers, and along this border, your troops are stationed, almost 200,000 soldiers. Your leaders just approved them to make a step towards us, into the territory of another country.
И этот шаг...
This step is likely the beginning of a massive war on the European continent.
Russia again warned its nuclear forces were on high alert.
Several cities were hit in residential areas, resulting in dozens of civilian deaths.
This is a war unlike any war the world has ever seen. It looks like a war from like 1830, but it's happening.
Wait, what? How is this a war that we haven't seen before? Like, bro, this has happened like not too long ago. It happened like maybe... Like the last thing I can think of that maybe it happened again with this is like, I don't know, probably like fucking Vietnam or some shit like that. And that's just the ones that's just one I can think of. Like, I'm sure there are plenty more, especially like post 9/11. Like, it's crazy to me.
In 2022. Putin's
You know, I think this year is going to be another shitty year. Like 2020 was pretty bad. We had 2021, which was essentially the sequel of 2020, and I honestly think that 2022 is going to complete the trilogy. It's like a fucking movie series.
His army is much stronger than Ukraine's, at least in terms of numbers. If he really wants to, he probably is going to be able to take over the country's major population centers and oust the Ukrainian government. The US and NATO can't send troops for fear of starting a clash between two nuclear nations, something we simply do not do. It's a red line that no one crosses. I want to tell you exactly why Vladimir Putin and his army are here. The story behind this invasion is the story of this one man's worldview, but it's also a story of a bet that he took, a bet that Ukrainians would give up, lay down their arms, and see the world the way he does. But if there's anything I have learned in the past week, it's that even if Putin conquers a big portion of this country, something he has the military hardware to do, even if he does that, he still won't win this war. In fact, I'm here to argue that he's already lost.
This is going to be the liberal approach to the Russia-Ukraine war. It's not going to be the Marxist approach, which is what we just watched not too long ago. History repeats itself, and we never learn from our mistakes. Humans are the worst, aren't they? I mean, yeah, but like, if we actually had people's material conditions being met and took a more Marxian approach to it, we wouldn't have a need for wars. Like, we just flat out wouldn't. Like, there's no reason for it.
There are big explosions taking place in Kiev right now.
People here are going to be waking up to a very different country than the one they went to sleep in.
Very true.
We are getting just non-stop reports of attacks and Russian strikes from all across the country.
Vladimir Putin has already lost this war. And to understand what I'm talking about, you have to look at two things. Number one, what Putin said right before the invasion. And number two, what actually happened once he invaded. I want to show you both. So a few days before the invasion, Putin gets on TV and addresses the nation.
Уважаемые граждане России, дорогие друзья.
It's this unsurprising hour-long history lecture where Putin lays out his grand, intricate argument as to why Ukraine, in fact, isn't a real country.
Итак, начну с того, что современная Украина целиком и полностью была создана Россией.
Instead, Ukraine was created by the authors of the Russian Communist Revolution 100 years ago. And now Ukraine, this invented country that's just an extension of Russia itself, has been hijacked by the US and Europe, who have installed neo-Nazi thugs to run the show. Seriously, he said all of this. You can go watch the hour-long lecture if you want. According to his story, the West did this to eventually force Ukraine.
I mean, he is kind of right, though. There are some neo-Nazis in Ukraine, but like, for the most part, their numbers I don't really think they matter too much. But no, he is right about that, but like, there is a very small portion to what actually goes on.
Into their military alliance called NATO, which they will use to defeat Russia. Just like, and seriously he says this, just like Hitler did 80 years ago. But this time, Putin will make sure that Russia is ready for the invasion.
Второй раз мы такой ошибки не допустим.
Oh gosh, there is a lot to unpack here. The neo-Nazi thug thing, I will get to that in a second. But the message was clear. Putin was basically like, Ukraine, if you're gonna disavow communist Russia and all of the things that it gave to you, you don't deserve the land that you got from communist Russia. And in fact, all of this land still belongs to Russia, and we're gonna take it back.
The payload communist Russia.
Ну что же, нас это вполне устраивает. Но не нужно, что называется, останавливаться на полпути. Мы готовы показать вам, что значит для Украины настоящая декоммунизация.
But this warped historical framing of who rightfully owns this land isn't quite enough to justify an invasion, maybe in like 1860 or something, but not today. So Putin needs to really emphasize the villains in his story. So he makes a big part of his story this idea that Ukraine, this fake country, is being run by American-backed anti-Russian neo-Nazis who are holding the Ukrainian people hostage.
Неудивительно, что украинское общество столкнулось с ростом крайнего национализма, который быстро приобрел форму агрессивной русофобии и неонацизма.
Okay. It's easy to poke fun at like the delusion of Vladimir Putin.
Bro, what the fuck's going on
Let's
with this?
talk about the facts here and what Putin is actually basing this off of, because it really matters for understanding why he went in and why he's gonna lose. First, let's just clear up the fact that Ukraine wasn't invented by Russia. Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, was a thriving city long before Moscow was even on the map. Ukraine has a very old culture. But what Putin has done is twisted modern history to make a claim that Ukraine actually isn't a legitimate country. And he does this because it's a very key part of his story, one that supports the second major argument, which is that Ukraine is run by neo-Nazis who want to exterminate the Russian-speaking population. So let's get the facts here. Within Ukraine, there is indeed a faction of far-right neo-Nazis who have a political party and a militia force. And this militia force has actually...
This is the Azov battalions. These are their flags. I hope that there's a better image, or better image or still that I can show with the actual symbol on it.
Actually joined the...
Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is the Azov battalion right here. This is their symbol. Kind of looks familiar, doesn't it? I wonder what it could be based off of.
Ukrainian army in the past 8 years to fight Russia back from annexing any more territory in the east of the country. You may have remembered that Russia took over a big part of Ukraine called Crimea 8 years ago.
Ukrainian forces have set up a perimeter, but it's clear that we are completely...
What? How do they always manage to get the same kind of looking reporters for like war? Like this is always the war reporter. Like how do they always manage to get them?
Completely surrounded by Russian forces.
Yeah, these neo-Nazi fighters, sort of nationalist guys, came up as a resistance to that. And yeah, Putin's got one thing right. These are not good people. These are literal neo-Nazi white supremacist soldiers that commit all sorts of atrocities and train children in their ideology and fighting tactics. So yeah, Putin, I get it. These are bad people, neo-Nazis. We don't like them. But Putin is claiming that these are the people running the country, running Ukraine. When in fact, if you look at the data from the 2019 election in Ukraine, you'll see that the country's ultra-nationalist far-right coalition gained barely over 2% of the vote and 0 seats in the parliament. They are a small group.
It's kind of like the PPC here. Remember last year's election when everyone thought that the PPC was gonna be a huge thing, and then it turns out it wasn't, and they didn't even get any seats. They lost to the fucking Greens. How sad is that? How sad is it that you have so much alleged support, but you get more seats than the Greens? You lost to the fucking Greens. Oh man, it was so funny. And like they're around where I live, there is so much of people that allegedly supported the PPC. Like, they were the second most at least in my my writing, they had came in second for votes, and it was just, yeah, no, I mean, of course they wouldn't win, like, no. And like, I love the fact that when I tell people that the PPC is like neo-Nazis and shit, they get so mad. They're like, no, they're not. I'm like, bro, literally all that they're missing is just a swastika. That's all that they're missing. Oh man. I was really sad though that they weren't allowed on the debate. Because I mean, debates are just for fun. They rarely change people's minds, so I mean, why not have Maxime Bernier there? We need some more fun.
Of extremely fringe far-right fighters that Putin has latched onto. Oh, and there's a more obvious bit of data here, which is that the Ukrainian president is Jewish and has family who died.
I mean, you can be a neo-Nazi and be Jewish. I mean, look at Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is an excellent example of that.
In the Holocaust, Ukraine is not run by neo-Nazis. Listen, to balance my view on this, because I'm in the West and I'm getting all Western media, I have actually been watching Russian state TV to like see what the narrative is on their side. And I can tell you that they actually believe that the country is run by Nazis.
It is reminiscent of the practices and methods of Nazi Germany.
And we're seeing a full revival of Nazism and fascism in Ukraine.
I've tried to dig into this to try to understand, like, is there more like meat on the bone here? No, there's not. A fringe group of militiamen in the Far East are what Putin is basing this off of. Over here in reality land, Ukraine is a nation of 44 million people with its own culture that is thousands of years old. It is a country where fewer and fewer people like Russia. In fact, it's a country that ousted the pro-Russian leader in 2014. The people don't want Russia and Putin anymore. They've moved on. But all of these facts are explained away very conveniently by Putin's bigger conspiracy, which is that it's actually outside forces that are pulling the strings, and that the people of Ukraine have been brainwashed by the West. And yet there is one thing that Putin is absolutely right about.
Это наши товарищи, близкие, среди которых не только коллеги, друзья, бывшие сослуживцы, но и родственники. Люди, связанные с нами кровными семейными узами.
These two countries are deeply connected through culture and language and history and exchange. A war against Ukrainians would not sit well with the Russian people. And this explains why Putin needs to frame the war in a very certain way. Not an invasion to take over a sovereign nation of Russia's brothers and sisters, but rather a rescue effort to save the Ukrainian people from these aggressive villains who are really controlling the country.
В курсе ли всех этих управленческих методов сами украинцы? Понимают ли, что их страна находится даже не под политическим и экономическим протекторатом, а сведена до уровня колонии с марионеточным режимом?
Okay, I'm about to jump into the maps and look at how the war is actually playing out and help us understand it. But I really, really want us to keep in mind Putin's story, because it really will make everything click. So let's just go over it really quickly. Putin's story is really four things. Number one, Ukraine really belongs to Russia. Number two, it has been hijacked by the US and Europe, i.e. the West. Number three, the West is controlling Ukraine with its neo-Nazi puppets, also that the West military alliance called NATO can use Ukraine as a bridge to get to Russia, who they want to defeat. And all of this...
I mean, this is just crazy, right? Like, it's just crazy to me. But like, I mean, he's surprisingly getting a lot of things right, which I did not expect from a liberal.
This leads to Putin must invade to free Ukrainians and protect Russia from the West. That is it. That is the justification that Vladimir Putin has been building for years, if not decades.
Повторю, наши действия – это самозащита от создаваемых нам угроз и от еще большей беды, чем та, что происходит сегодня.
Minutes after this second address last week, where he laid out all of his justifications, in the middle of the night, the rockets start flying and the tanks start rolling. had started, what is becoming the most consequential war in Europe since World War II, a pretend rescue effort framed as an operation to denazify the country. Russia comes in from all sides, quickly taking over mostly rural areas, but slowly moving towards the major cities.
The country is being attacked from all directions. Some of those Russian troops are heading here to the capital.
In addition to tanks and troops taking over land, Russia also starts firing missiles that hit targets all throughout the country.
This has come out of nowhere. Who resist? Oh, I tell you what, I just heard a big bang right here.
The invasion, the attack that
crazy.
Russia promised would never happen has now started.
People who live in Kyiv are sleeping in underground subway stations. It's the only place they feel safe.
Ukrainians fled to basements, to bomb shelters.
Some people are adjusting to this new reality.
There are only hostile threats when you become hostile. I mean, yeah, that's true. And everyone looks like an enemy when you're in war.
Living in a country now at war.
Hundreds of thousands fled to the borders west of the country, looking for safety.
Others are taking trains to the west to get out of the country.
They are fleeing into neighboring countries like Moldova, Romania, and Poland.
At the city's central train station,
Poland has taken in a surprising amount of civilians. It's just crazy on how many they've taken in. Like, we should be trying to help those that have fled the country and trying to help them, you know, come over and like have them have them underneath refugee status. Like, I don't understand why we don't try and do more.
frantic dash as people try to escape to the west of the country.
But wait, remember Putin's story? According to this story, after this initial invasion, Ukrainians were going to wake up from their slumber and welcome him with open arms. The neo-Nazi president was going to flee, and Ukraine would be returned to Russia, Putin becoming the savior of the Russian motherland. But that is exactly what didn't happen.
Outgunned and outnumbered, Ukrainian soldiers and civilians alike are mounting a stiff resistance.
I used to teach maths and physics, but 2 days ago, the Russian army took control of...
Yeah, no, this is, like, it's just crazy. Like, you have, like, fucking math teachers going and fighting these fucking forces. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, could you imagine that if your fucking math teacher had to go and fight in a war because of an aggressive force? Like, it's just crazy to me.
Of my town, so I signed
like,
up.
These are mostly the people that are you know, sacrificing their lives and fighting back. It's just regular, ordinary people.
To fight.
Every day Ukrainians are taking to the streets to fight for their homeland.
Let those Russian shits come here, she says. We are ready to greet them.
We are ready to fight. And fight like hell.
This is my city. This is my land. I have to protect it.
You do not feel they're going to succeed in taking out your administration and your...
Those people are the real heroes. I mean, absolutely. Like, you don't hear a lot of those... a lot of those stories, because most of the time you hear about like the most like extremist and ridiculous people. You don't hear about like the average civilian that has to take on a lot of the oppressing forces that are invading their country. Like, it's ridiculous.
Your government.
No way. As they will never take Kyiv.
The response of Ukrainians, both military and civilian, is where Putin's story starts to crumble.
The entire world is witnessing the determined and brave resistance by the Ukrainian army and population.
I have never seen Ukraine that united.
And as for the president of Ukraine, the alleged neo-Nazi drug addict thug puppet of the West, well, the US actually offered to airlift him out of the country for his own safety. Instead of taking the offer, his response was, quote, "The fight is here. I need ammunition, not a ride." Which, by the way, that quote has been turned into a
But yet, you know, he still wants no-fly zone over Ukraine, which is a big no-no.
t-shirt that you can buy on Amazon.
Ukrainians are fighting for love of country. Russians are fighting out of a fear of a dictator.
In the event of Russia opting for escalation, Ukraine will defend itself.
He then sent a video around to the country of him in central Kiev, making it known that he is staying, he is fighting. So despite being totally outmatched militarily, Ukrainians are fighting back, showing that the outcome of a war is as
He needs words, not bullets. I mean, yeah, to a certain point I do agree, but a lot of those words has to come from the US, and the US doesn't seem interested in taking up peace negotiations. Like, they haven't tried to exhaust all possible resources when it comes to war.
much determined by the courage and patriotism of the population as it is by the number of missiles and troops that you have.
Будут наступать войска, если у нас попытаются отнять нашу страну, нашу свободу, наши жизни, жизни наших детей, мы будем защищаться. Не наступать, защищаться. Наступая, вы будете видеть наши лица, не наши спины, наши лица.
I've been talking to people inside Ukraine and seeing this devotion firsthand.
How is morale right now among you and among the people you're talking to?
Honestly, extremely high.
Ukrainians aren't letting this conquest happen, and in doing so, they are turning Putin's argument, his story, on its head, and foiling what appears to be his initial strategy for wrangling Ukraine back into his sphere of influence. One Ukrainian I talked to said that there's a waiting list for the Ukrainian army.
Our regional defense won't accept any more people because it's packed.
The queues are growing.
You cannot even get in right now.
Men volunteering to fight.
Molotov cocktails for those who want to fight but don't have a gun.
A tweet from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry to prepare Molotov cocktails to throw at the occupiers.
I'm here in order to protect my family, my country.
There is an incredible sense of unity here. The morale is very high.
Okay, this sounds all positive, and it is, but this is still war, and Putin can still conquer a lot of land. He can take over major cities, install a puppet government,
After
and be the new
the
ruler of Ukraine. He has the military
missile
to
strikes,
do
I'm
it,
getting
and
a
he
little
seems
bit
to have the
worried that
tolerance
he's
for
gonna show
bloodshed.
TOS
He seems
stuff.
to believe in his fantasy story so much that he's gonna keep up this crusade. But I'm here to tell you that Putin has already lost this war. I mean, let's play this out so I can show you what I mean. Let's say Putin keeps going. He keeps sending troops in and missiles despite all of this resistance. He could eventually take over the major population centers, including the capital Kiev. All of this with the same goal that he's had the whole time, which is getting the Ukrainians to give up and realize that Russia is actually the country they want to align with. He's also kind of hoping that maybe the Ukrainian military will come to their senses and take over the government and negotiate with Putin. But let's
Bro, like, why would they, though? The things that are tearing people down will also bring them together, but in the worst ways possible. I mean, yeah, that is possible. But we have seen, like, a lot of the Ukrainians, like, you know, actually, like, pushing back against it and everything. Like, and like, but they still want, like, certain things which I think are just unreasonable, like a no-fly zone. Like, this should have never happened to begin with, so. You know, I'm really glad we watched the Second Thought video before this.
Let's say they never do, they probably won't. Instead, they keep doing what they've been doing for the last week, resisting, defending, condemning, and broadcasting all of it to the world on the internet. So Putin has no choice but to drive the government out and install a pro-Russian regime. In order to do this, he's going to need a massive military presence to keep control of these cities and their people. It's now costing him tens of billions of dollars and crippling his economy, which by the way, is only like the size of Texas. I mean, one of the biggest knocks on Putin's plan is the sheer size of Ukraine. Let's zoom out and realize that Ukraine is huge. It's the biggest country in Europe, if you don't count Russia, the giant country that extends into Asia. Occupying this entire landmass would be basically impossible.
Does a no-fly zone ever help anyone? It depends on what side you're on. A no-fly zone generally happens mostly from primarily Western dominant countries in order to essentially bully the poorer countries that, you know, they want to take their resources from. But like a no-fly zone in Ukraine would just be detrimental. Like it's essentially the equivalence of boots on the ground warfare. Because, I mean, someone has to shoot down the Russian planes, right? But it's just, which I hope doesn't happen. But I don't know, we'll see.
For Russia. So you have a map that maybe looks something like this, which gives plenty of space for Ukrainians to gather and mount their resistance, giving Russia hell for an indefinite period of time. Meanwhile, back home in Russia, they've now seen the imagery from the ground. They now see that Putin's story justifying this invasion is total BS. There's no Nazis, there's no brainwashing of the people. Instead, in this scenario, Russians are thinking of deaths of our Ukrainian brothers and sisters, while also destroying the Russian economy.
Almost every Russian has someone from Ukraine, either a friend or a relative or a colleague. This is a war between brother nations.
Protesters in the streets demonstrating against Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine.
I mean, yeah, there has been like a lot of resistance when it comes to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and they've been met with fucking police brutality, and it's disgusting.
On top of all of that, the rich Russian business guys who keep Putin in power, the oligarchs, they aren't happy because the entire world has cut Russia off.
Russian billionaires moving their yachts, scrambling their jets, and shifting their assets to prepare for a possible crackdown.
They can't access their financial reserves, their ability to move money is made much more difficult, people aren't letting their trade vessels into ports.
New efforts by U.S. law enforcement to make Russian oligarchs feel the pain of Putin's war.
I mean, this is effectively what sanctions do. So the oligarchs are now like, dude, Putin, WTF? And they put pressure on him to stop this madness. But even still, Putin has enough power that he could still dig in his heels and keep trying to get Ukrainians to come under his rule. But by this point, Ukrainians are done with Putin. They see his true colors. Anyone who was on the fence before has now witnessed civilians being killed in Putin's war of choice. They won't come on his side now. The upshot here...
I mean, that's just a caveat of war, though. Like, you're always gonna have civilians being killed. And, like, remember back in the 60s when, you know, there's the anti-war protest and the exact... Like, I think it was for Vietnam. And the exact same fucking thing happened in Western societies that had happened in Russia. I mean, granted, the approach was a little bit different. They just said that everyone there was like smoking pot and whatnot.
Is that there's not really a scenario where Putin keeps going and gets what he wants. And that's because the story that he based this invasion off of is proving to be totally wrong. All of these assumptions that he predicated his war on turned out to be the delusions of a pseudo-history buff stuck in the logic of the Cold War, not the realities on the ground today. Add another point to the against Putin camp. Meanwhile, Putin's war has united the West and NATO like never before. NATO has a new sense of purpose, a new thing to rally around, something they've been looking for since the end of the Cold War.
Yeah, and Putin literally gave that to them. Like, now they can be like, oh, hey, look at this bad man who is like killing people and whatnot. Like, it's so stupid. Like, this will try and justify like NATO's existence even further after the Cold War.
War. And Ukraine, who is currently getting tons of support and weapons and money and aid and refugee support from NATO countries, is now way more likely to sympathize with the West. Because now they've seen the realities of what Putin has to offer, which is falsehoods and unprovoked conflict, all in the name of some ill-defined vision of former imperial glory. Nope.
It's my city, it's my hometown, it's my homeland, it's my country.
I mean, we do the same thing,
I'm
though.
not the one who should live. The Russians are the one who should live.
Russia is a great nation, full of beautiful culture, geography, history, and people. The vast majority of those people don't want imperial-style expansion and war. They want to live their...
I mean, he is right. Like, a vast majority of the Russian civilians do not want this, as well as they have been pushing back against it as well. And like, he is also right about like the part where Russia is like such a beautiful country. It really is. Like, plus it's very, very diverse as well.
Their lives, to prosper, to connect. And yet, the warped, delusional worldview of one greedy man has cut off their ability to do that. How is that possible?
The Russian people have no say in the behavior of their government under the Putin dictatorship.
These incredibly brave people, often young people
Let's go,
in
Bernie.
Russia, who are out on the streets protesting against what their president is doing.
This is not the war by the people of Russia. This is yet another military adventure by the unaccountable, unelected, increasingly deranged dictator in the Kremlin by the name of Vladimir Putin.
This situation is developing and certainly will take paths that no one can predict. By the time you're watching this, I'm sure some key development has happened that I haven't covered here. But I feel pretty certain when I say that Putin really doesn't have a path to the victory that he set out to achieve last week when he sent people and weapons across his border to attack his neighbors. Ukrainians, with their bold courage, have proved him wrong. I know that sounds very poetic and maybe even cliche, but in this case it's true.
If someone told me a week ago I would own an assault rifle, I would not believe.
So now the world will stand by and support
Most didn't.
as they continue to wage this battle for the future of their land that belongs to them, not to a Russian dictator.
Just for everyone to know, it's our land, it's our home, we will defend it.
13 Ukrainian border guards defiantly telling an invading Russian warship to go F yourself when asked to surrender.
And we will win. Russian ship, go fuck yourself. Slava Ukraini.
I'm actually surprised he managed to get a lot of things right. Usually liberals don't. While we're on this topic anyways, I'm kind of curious on what China thinks about the Russia-Ukraine stuff.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen from Asian Boss. So whenever we talk about our mission to bridge cultural gaps between Asia and the West, we often emphasize that we do all this to prevent World War III, and people laugh at us. Well, I hope you're not laughing now. As the Russian invasion of Ukraine continues to unfold, one country we're not hearing
March
much
7th.
from at the moment is
A
China.
little bit old.
But isn't China supposed to be one of Russia's biggest allies? So are you curious about ordinary Chinese citizens' reactions to the Russia-Ukraine war? What do the Chinese think about Russia and Putin as a leader in general? Before we get to the street interview, be sure to subscribe to Asian Boss and turn on the notification bell. We're also...
I'm genuinely curious to see what their reactions are, because I have no idea. Like, I've mostly just been like focusing on like the more Western stuff, and then like obviously like the stuff that happens in Russia too. Like, I haven't really been paying attention to like anywhere else. So I am genuinely curious to see what they
In the process of interviewing ordinary Ukrainians
views are.
and Russians about this war, so don't miss out. Now, let's go to our Asian Bus reporter in Shanghai for more.
今天我们想了解一下中国人对俄罗斯的看法。首先，你是否听说了最近俄罗斯入侵乌克兰的这个新闻？
听说了。
我听说了。你对此的第一反应是什么？
我觉得用入侵这个词可能太严重了，这是我的个人感受啊。
因为乌克兰是一个主权国家，然后俄罗斯它不顾国际法去侵略一个主权国家，我觉得这个是错误的。
有听说这个新闻是俄罗斯跟乌克兰有一些军事冲突，然后他们可能各方的说法不一样。俄罗斯好像说不是入侵，乌克兰说是入侵。
听说了，但是我感到呢，这个叫做俄罗斯呢，不是普京不是他侵占乌克兰
，What？
他是为了保持这个国家的安全，为了保护自己的。
Bro, what? That's fucking crazy. Russia is protecting itself? I am okay.
国家安全，人民的生活。
那这个新闻在中国大概有多大的影响？有多少对他的这样的新闻报道？
实际上影响会非常大，因为在开战那天，基本上朋友圈都会在说这个乌克兰战争的问题啊，对，就大家的所有的话题基本上都围绕这个话题展开，所以这个问题其实对于中国人的这个影响还是比较大的。大家实际上也会很担心自己的这个安全问题。
我觉得有很多，因为在微博或者是百度搜索的页面上，然后占据绝大多数版面的都是有关俄罗斯和乌克兰的事情。
中国媒体是怎么去报道这个新闻的？不管是官方的或者是民间的，他们是怎么说？为什么俄罗斯决定在乌克兰部署军队的这么样一个新闻？
官方的媒体可能还是，我觉得以中国的立场来讲，还是说是保持着说不干涉别人家内政的原则，比较客观跟中立去报道吧。但是我们官方还是有一点，可能官方是比较含蓄的，一些别的媒体的报道会分偏西方的或偏俄罗斯这边。
这是别国的一种，
I mean,
就是自己。
That does make sense though, because like they are very strong allies in that regard. At least when it comes to like trade and stuff.
的一种主权的事情，所以我们国家实际上是没有权利干涉的。但是实际上我们对这种行为当然是予以不同意的，对对。
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Like, why would they agree with the war? Like, from what I understand, like China's very like anti-war, so I don't really see why they would agree with it.
那民间大概有什么样的报道？
民间的报道实际上也是非常反对这种侵略的行为，因为我们民间还是认为这是一种侵略的行为。那么民间呢，我们更多的看到是民众的这种痛苦，所以我们对于比如说小孩子啊，特别是母亲啊，对于那边的孩子们的这个情况，还有这个妇女们的情况，实际上是非常的表示同情的。
俄罗斯为什么决定在乌克兰部署军队啊？
他就是觉得乌克兰要加入北约了，加入北约的话，对他的威胁就大了，所以说他就要有这个方式去胁迫乌克兰啊。我觉得他有他的政治目的。
这两天我花了一点点时间去了解了一下，应该是北约的那种扩张的力量，让俄罗斯会很紧张嘛。他们这个驻军乌克兰或者是。
I mean, they're actually getting a surprising amount of things right. I mean, for the most part, it seems like Chinese people, or at least, yeah, like the people living in China are, for the most part, against it, which is good to see.
他们的武装力量分布过去，也是也是一种战略保护自己。
他为什么不是无军队？为什么呢？是北约组织，他5次东扩已经到了俄罗斯的门口了。他把枪炮、什么导弹、什么火箭都对准了我们俄罗斯的门。他自己的普京感到自己的安全受到了威胁，他就要做出一定的反制。
西方总体上是谴责入侵。
Did he really though? Like, I don't really think he did.
乌克兰这个举动的。那么中国政府对这场持续的冲突是什么样的一个反应？
和平。我们国家一般都是处于一个和平的一个政策，就是说我们能谈判就尽量不要打，能签约就尽量不要去搞别的稀巴烂的什么的，对。
鉴于中国认为俄罗斯是一个盟友，那么你认为中国是否应该以任何的形式去干涉？为什么？或者是为什么不？
我觉得不应该干涉。就是首先这是乌克兰挑起的一些事儿，然后他去惹到了我们，就是惹到。
I mean, like, it wouldn't really make sense for China to do so anyways, because like the West isn't gonna do it or isn't gonna like want to support China in any way. So, like, what other choices do they actually have, though, right?
到俄罗斯了，但又不是俄罗斯受侵害了，就是俄罗斯如果受侵害的话，我们国家是可以去，就是说支援俄罗斯啊或者什么的。
中国政府实际上也是非常不同意，非常就是非常反对的。因为毕竟现在任何一个国家都无法承受这个真正战争爆发的后果，对。我觉得实际上中国肯定不会去干涉，因为这毕竟是俄罗斯自己的这个决策的问题，我们干涉实际上是谈不到的，但是我们实际上可以去劝阻。
I mean, that's generally my thoughts on things outside of like imperialism. Like a lot of their internal affairs is like theirs alone. They should deal with it themselves.
可以去发表我们的看法。实际上前几天应该是昨天吧，好像习主席已经与这个普京通电话了，他希望说能够谈。对对对，所以我们国家的这个外交部发言人也其实一直在说。
There seems to be a general consensus that the invasion is a bad thing. I mean, yeah, of course. Like, I had a feeling that this was going to be the response of the Chinese people. Because, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, they're very anti-war, they don't want to start or participate in wars, so, I mean, it makes sense, but, like, they're still probably going to end up doing business with Russia because, like, they don't really have too many allies that they can really interact with at the moment. It's like Russia or no one, unfortunately.
说我们实际上是不同意这样的战争，我们也不会递武器的，我们是希望大家能够协商谈判，对。
那你会如何去描述中国和俄罗斯的两国的关系呢？就在中国，我们对俄罗斯是什么样的一个看法？然后总体上是偏消极还是偏积极呢？
我觉得大部分人应该都是偏积极的吧，毕竟我们自己也有一些这个主权问题没解决嘛。
I zoned out for a second. What was the perception of Russia and China? Positive or negative? I mean, yeah, it's probably mostly positive, right?
是偏消极还是偏积极呢？
我觉得大部分人应该都是偏积极的吧，毕竟我们自己也有一些这个主权问题没解决嘛。其实我相信很多跟我一样人也会相信，如果我们有一位这样的总统，可能会变得有趣一些。
我倾向于就相对来说比较中立一点的立场吧，就至少，中国和俄罗斯算是共同对。
I mean, like, why wouldn't you be, like, opposing the U.S.? Like, they do so much horrible shit. It's crazy. And then, like, granted, we're no better, but, like, whenever one of our enemies does it, it's automatically, like, the worst thing that could happen. Like, it's so stupid.
对抗美国的一个盟友吧，至少是一个所谓的盟友，至少有共同的所谓的敌人在。
I mean, yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my ally, right?
中俄关系啊，中俄关系就是靠美国嘛，对吧？美国如果对俄罗斯和中国压力大了，他们两个中国和俄罗斯会和好。 美国压力小了，那么中国和俄罗斯也有这个各方面的一些问题。
因为首先是俄罗斯对我们国家也帮助很大，它这包括在用气的方面、跟粮食方面，都对我们中国支持很大的。我们中国背靠这个大哥，我不说大哥，就是兄弟，我们背靠他不会侵略我们，他不会弄我们，我感到这是很好的事情。我们中国从来不主张去不称霸，在思想上从来不称霸，不像美国一样，这个美国这个不行，跳篝火这里抄这里抄，这不行。
Wait, what? He's actually right about that. Like he is 100% right about that.
大家都世界是共同体嘛，我们国家习主席也说得很好，世界是个共同体，我们应该都是兄弟，都互相共赢、互相前进、互相和平，这是最好的。
I was about to call that guy a boomer, but now I don't want to. He's really right about that. What a nice guy. Just wants everyone to get along. I do too.
首先来讲，美国是很强啊，然后中国跟俄罗斯，我觉得说可能互相需要帮助、需要依靠的一些共同利益。我觉得中国不会明面上支持说俄罗斯去打，也不会说怎么样，但是应该还是关系比较紧密。相较于跟美国跟西方来讲，中国跟俄罗斯关系还比较紧密。主要因为我是觉得啊，相对来讲，以西方美国为首，他还是就是说以打他们的一些名义吧，可能会就是说对一些发展中国家会有一些制裁，或者说希望跟他们的想法去改造社会，但是中国可能不是这样子，所以。
Yeah. He has the right message, but the way it was being told was wrong. We need more people like him. No, sure. I mean, yeah, but like, he also did say some pretty like deranged stuff as well. So that's why I wanted to call him a boomer, and then I didn't want to call him a boomer after he said that. Like, he still is a boomer, but like, I do agree with that stance that he has, though. Like, peace over war, love over hate.
但是中国，你要说1对1，中国肯定还是不如美国，那俄罗斯也是这样，所以我觉得，中国跟俄罗斯还会有一些互相的一些协助啊，来一起面对这些比较紧张的局面，我是这样理解的。
那你对俄罗斯领导人普京有些什么看法？
这个人克格勃出身嘛，然后年纪
He is right about that.
然后连续做了这么多年总统，应该是一个当总统经历很丰富，然后应该蛮有经验的吧。
其实某种意义上来讲，我不太喜欢他。相对来说，我不认为一个国家的领导人，应该在那个位置上待那么久。我觉得。
Okay, here's where I disagree with this guy. To me, I honestly don't care if someone's in power for a very long time, provided that they're actually providing material conditions, like improving the material conditions of the people of its country, right? And if you don't do that, you failed. Like, I honestly don't care how long someone's in power for, but if what they're inherently doing is good, like, I don't know, say like giving people fucking houses that need it, and like so they're not dying on the fucking streets. I don't care if that person is like in office until the day that they die, from like, I don't know, fucking 40. I don't care. Like, as long as they're actually doing something good, I don't care how long their term is. I honestly don't. But I do understand the other side of this as well. Like, no one should have, like, how no one should be able to hold that amount of power. Like, I do get that. Personally, as long as they're doing something good, I don't care. I honestly don't care.
可能更多的轮换会对于一个国家来说更好吧。
我觉得他蛮有趣的，对，每次看到他的一些新闻都是就是跟我们的就是 维尼熊握手或者什么的，对。
Could you just imagine if Xi Jinping went with like the Winnie the Pooh memes and like actually rolled with the punches? Winnie the Pooh would be like a national icon in China. But I think Xi Jinping had the wrong approach when it came to the Winnie the Pooh stuff. I'd be like, yeah, and this bear is a loving, caring guy. It would have been great. I like Xi Jinping should have just went with it, because I know I would have.
习大大就对这种就是感觉他在我们国家还是蛮受好评的。
我对他普京很难的，我感到他很难的，他说话算话，他就是为了保护自己国家的领土安全，他是这样做了；他为了自己的人民幸福，他这样做了。我感到他真的很好，这样的领导人我很钦佩，很信服他。他是一个人，他是。你不欺负我，你不来压制我，不给我压力，我不会动的。
我觉得是。
I mean, technically yes, but like, you're still a boomer who had like one good take. But you know, no, Putin sucks.
这样就是从他的这个人格魅力上来讲，我其实是钦佩的。但是他的做事做法最后产生的这个社会影响或者世界上的影响，
She's right.
其实我是比较担忧的。
你觉得你很钦佩他的这个个人的魅力，他这个人魅力你可以稍微形容一下吗？
就是他坚定的事情，他有自己非常明确的目标。
I mean, that's putting it one way.
他其实是也是捍卫他整个一个国家和民族吧。从这个节点上来看，我觉得我是钦佩的。
他是一个很有能力的人，这是我承认的，但是我觉得他是还是一个比较独裁的一个人。我觉得他这个人，战争心很重，对周边国家，我觉得很多的国家对他都有这种不安全感。
其实有很多人会担心。
Yeah, no, he's 100% right about that. Like, due to like a lot of Putin's like invasions and stuff and like how he is, of course, like a lot of neighboring countries are going to be afraid of Putin. Both sides of the argument have valid points, but you are right when you say the material conditions to be met regardless of where you stand on the matter. I mean, yeah, that's 100% true. People are always going to need their material conditions being met, and like most of the time, like if their material conditions are met, well, a lot of this shit won't happen, right? Like a lot of war won't happen, a lot of like violence won't happen. Like we know for a fact that like even like crime will be cut down as well, because like we know that crime and poverty are inherently connected. So like we've known about it since like ancient Greece, I think it was. So of course when you like take care of the material conditions that people need, like housing, food, education, medicine, of course a lot of the horrible shit that we see is going to go down.
俄罗斯入侵乌克兰会造成一个第3次世界大战，那么你认为这种可能性
World War III? How likely is the situation? Not very likely. I don't think it will happen.
有多大？
这种可能性几乎没有。首先第一点，俄罗斯它是有核国家，然后它周边的美国也是有核国家，在那个没有很大的这个战争的这个环境下，是不可能动用核武器的。我觉得这种世界大战可能性是不可能有。
我觉得应该不至于，因为毕竟来讲，大多数的国家还是希望和平。
I mean, it's right about that. Yeah, most places want peace.
目前来看，只要暂时美国还没有出手，如果美国出手了，可能会有问题。但是真正直接下场去开战，我觉得两个核大国之间的这个交锋，不可想象。希望不要到这个阶段。
Yeah, I agree. That is something that you should just completely imagine and not actually have to worry about.
我是希望美国能够从此能够罢手这样子的事情，整个世界才能够和平。但是我认为美国它真正出兵的这个可能性可能比较小，因为它也是非常清楚，它的出兵会导致他们国家怎样的困难，因为他们国家现在实际上经济也并不是很好。所以我希望大家也都能够考虑到说，真正的安居乐业，真正的人民的生活平安的生活，因为如果真正
So
发
do I.
动一场战争，这现在是全世界各国都没有办法承受的后果。因为现在大家都有导弹，所以实际上任何一个国家还有都有核弹啊。如果任何一个国家它真正采用这种武器的话，
You know, just take the Hassan approach, being like, everyone gets nuclear weapons, so this way no one will have anyone threatening them again.
其实全世界就是一个灭顶之灾。
其实美国还是会采取一定行动的。一旦美国介入，你会如何看中国的立场，或者你觉得中国应该有什么立场？
如果美国介入的话，我们中国肯定站出来要支持普京，因为普京所做的一切都是为了乌克兰和俄罗斯的人民的幸福，为了自
This
己
guy's been drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit too
中
much.
国有他自己的一些内部的一些需要考虑的事情。倒觉得可能闹得比较远，可能乌克兰跟俄罗斯的这场冲突可能会对中国跟中国台湾今后怎么去收复，可能会有一些借鉴作用，或者说有一些。
I mean, I could see that. I can see that happening, but time will tell, I guess.
启示吧。
你看到俄罗斯这样的做法之后，你觉得我们大陆和台湾会发生类似的事情吗？
虽然大家都很期待这个台湾回归，但实话讲，我不太希望以这种战争的方式来去回归。所以，但愿中国人民有智慧。
I was wondering why the Kool-Aid tasted a little bit funny. I mean, yeah, it's been it's not too good. There's something in it for sure.
有更好的国家前途的这个方式吧。
不可能。中国和台湾的话，我觉得这个事情的话也不一定会发生，因为是这样的，台湾的话，毕竟有很多的利益集团在后面，比如说是日本呐，或者是美国的因素啊。中国和台湾去打的话，因为对中国自己的切身利益的话，也没有很大的好处。因为首先第一点嘛，台湾的话，它的背后的老板美国首先是不会同意的，特别是台湾的这个作为第一岛链，对中国的这个地理的这个压制是很重要的一环。所以说，台湾和乌克兰相比，台湾的这个它的地理环境更重要，美国的话有可能会更积极一点。
中国绝对不会像俄罗斯这样，这样过去的嘛。中国是以自己的实力，还是随说的一些话，我们是以和平统一为主。中国人不打中国人，这是我们。
I mean, he's right about that. Like, China hasn't really engaged in too many external affairs. Like, they have engaged in internal affairs for sure. But every country does that. We just have an insane obsession of propping up how bad what China does is when we essentially do the exact same thing in our own backyard. So it doesn't really matter. I think this guy's becoming my most favorite of this entire video. He has some really out there takes, and then some takes that I actually agree with.
兄弟不能打东西，为什么要给其他人看笑话？美国人觉得个案在关火啊，他得到了自己的利益。我们
They are not indifferent to what you guys do. They are not indifferent. They routinely try and use what you guys have done as propaganda, being China bad, even though I think in a vast majority of contexts China good, but yes, sometimes China bad. But despite that, like I think that China's doing a lot more good than bad, because like every fucking nation has its demons, right? China unfortunately just has some caveats with a bunch of them. A legend is born. I don't think so. I don't really think he'll beat the one guy on Marketplace or Mark Holland. This guy is just interesting, just to put things lightly.
是自己是兄弟是一个国家的人啊，为什么要打呢？义理服人，就是我们说要和平统一，所以我们一直在强调要和平统一，和平统一。为什么？就是为了台湾人民也是我们的。
Like, as much as I do like have disagreements with this guy, like I also do agree with him. Like, we should be wanting like peace over like fucking violence and bloodshed. Like, I do agree with that. A legend being interesting, hence. I mean, do you really think that he could top Mark Holland though, at the very least? Like, nothing will top the guy from Marketplace. Absolutely nothing. But like, even Mark Holland, like, as much as I hate liberals, like, Mark Holland is a legend. Like, come on.
同胞，所以一直讲要和平，不仅有战争是可怕的，是残忍。就像现在乌克兰这样很好的一个国家，现在就是弄得不行了。现在
被这场战争被拖入这场战争的乌克兰公民，你会想要对他们说一些什么？
我觉得老百姓还是无辜的。我觉得任何打仗都是政客啊，跟一些政治层面的。我觉得老百姓还是真的是挺无辜的，尤其是很多平民啊，包括中国也是。我觉得希望还是不要战争吧，希望还是世界和平。
我希望他们能够保卫好自己的国家，因为我们中国人也。
I'm a little small sad that my shows rock with me.
曾经有过这样的历史，所以虽然我不是那个年代出生的人，不能感同身受，但是我在道义上非常支持他们。
我实际上真的觉得很难过，因为战争是任何的人都承受不了的。包括无意间失去一个亲人，这个实际上是任何家庭都承受不了的。我希望他们能够保护好自己，保护好孩子，能够教育好孩子，不要有仇恨。
I mean, that's a good note to end on for them. I kind of imagine that's what I imagined would be the stance. Like, you know, what Russia's doing bad is bad, which I get. All right, so there are two options on what we can watch. We can watch something on vaccines and freedoms, or we can make fun of the losers that were in Ottawa last month. We can make fun of those people again. I'm fine with doing either or. It's really whatever chat wants. Let's go to Ottawa.
Initially, Trudeau closed down the border to any trans.
Let's see what happened there. I mean, we're just going to be making fun of them again, but this time with the point of view of Andrew.
National movement of international long-haul truckers that were carrying goods if they weren't vaccinated. You know, I'm sure if I were a sitting president in America and I looked at what happened to Trudeau in Canada, I would be thinking, do I want that little song and dance and dog and pony show in my country? And I would be thinking, not really. And then, wow, look, Russia and Ukraine, look at that going off.
Whoa. Okay. Let's let's. What the hell, Andrew? You're usually pretty good about that kind of stuff. Wait, why is Hassan? Oh, Hassan watched this too? God damn it. I think it should be good now. That really caught me off guard. That was like fucking 30 seconds, Andrew. What the fuck?
I don't know. I'm not a geopolitical expert. I think the timing is very interesting.
They can easily fake a war if they wanted to. All they would do is just like film a few things and then put out in the news what they want.
Putin is doing the right thing. He's taken.
Bro, what? It hasn't even been a minute and he's already found some really interesting people. I mean, yeah, the first 30 seconds, I did not expect him to show missile strikes. That caught me completely off guard. I was like, usually Andrew's pretty good about avoiding that kind of stuff, so yeah. He's cross-eyed. I mean, yeah.
The Syrian mafia. The man's not an evil man. Here's the thing, the media is doing what they're doing and sharing the, excuse my French, the crap about him because he's over the target.
What?
Do you think there's even a war going on out there?
No, not at all. The deep state.
Oh no, the deep oh no. No. Oh no.
Has always made Putin to look like the bad guy. But he's a good guy. Freedom!
Oh man.
After we saw trucks occupying Ottawa for weeks, there's now a plan for truckers to converge on or near the U.S. Capitol.
Remember when, like, Americans thought that Canada needed to be liberated by, like, Donald Trump last month because he's the real president? Let's not forget. Like, it's just crazy to me. Like, oh, Americans are an interesting bunch of people. I mean, to be honest, I don't want to be liberated by the US.
Putting the region on alert.
They're protesting the national emergency declaration over COVID and vaccine mandates. Their website also says they want to restore the Constitution and individual rights, which got us thinking.
Wait, what? The Constitution and individual rights still exists, my guy. Some people can't let go of the past. I mean, yeah. Let's go, Brandon.
About the Canadian truckers, who that country's government crushed.
You're not. I mean, we weren't really crushed though. Like, it was 5% of the people or the truckers that weren't vaccinated or didn't want to get vaccinated. And like most of the people that were in fucking Ottawa were just a bunch of hogs in their pickup trucks. There was like, I think there were like, what, two people in like actual fucking trucks? Like, yeah, no, we weren't crushed. Like, they had their fun, and then the U.S. and Parliament passed the Emergencies Act, and then they backed off. Oh, Canadian hogs are just wannabe Americans. I say, you know what? I'll propose a deal to all my American friends and viewers. We'll give you our hogs if you give us Bernie Sanders. We'll take Bernie. You can have like how many ever people want to be Americans. That sounds like fair trade, right? Bernie would get elected so fast up here. It's not even funny.
Actually asking where we're at.
Where are we at?
We're in New Mexico. We're gaining on the People's Convoy. I think we're about 3 hours away from them right now.
Where are we walking to right now?
We're just walking around because that's what you're supposed to do during a monologue. You don't want to just stand still.
Sounds like a deal I can get behind. I mean, yeah, a vast majority of Canadians do actually like Bernie. Like, they wish that Bernie was here. Like, we'll give all of our Canadian hogs to the U.S. and we can have Bernie, and then Bernie will get elected and make things better here. That sounds like a fair trade, right?
Got to kind of walk around, gives like a real run-and-gun vibe. But we're meeting them in Elk City, Oklahoma, which is a small truck stop town west of Oklahoma City. I think we all want to be in Ukraine, but my passport's still in the mail. It arrives in 2 weeks. Once that comes, we're gonna. But right now, we're following the People's Convoy to DC. So right now we're like 4 miles outside of Elk City, Oklahoma, which is supposedly the midway point of the People's Convoy to DC, which is pretty similar to what happened in Canada.
The federal government issued a clarification today on entry requirements for truckers. Truckers will have to be fully vaccinated to enter Canada.
Hundreds of semi-drivers converged on cities across Canada.
Hundreds?
And shut down major international roadways.
I love that, like, how it was, like, hundreds. No, it was, like, I don't know, fucking 50 people in Ottawa, like, most of them in pickup trucks, and then, like fucking 3 people that had trucks, and then, like, you had a bunch of fucking neo-Nazis, like, blockading the border and not letting, like, truckers that actually, you know, did not care about getting vaccinated or wanted, you know, other people to get vaccinated. They weren't letting them go through. Like, it's so stupid. And, like, it was, like, what, like, 2 fucking Nazis in Manitoba, and then, like, probably, like, 3 in Saskatchewan and Alberta or something like that. It's ridiculous, man.
Michigan to New York, gridlock at the U.S.'s northern border. The resulting parts shortage already forcing GM to cancel shifts today.
But I haven't seen any trucks yet.
I hope they got paid.
Patriot! Patriot!
Follow
him. Come and take it!
Ah,
Shit, he's going the other fucking way.
Hit it, you. Hey, where's everybody at?
They are over by Walmart.
Okay, thank you.
Oh my god, Americans are the most entertaining groups of hogs on the entire planet. God, I love Americans. They're so entertaining.
Oh my god.
Yes, yeah. Everything happens at Walmart. Hey, it's in America, everything either happens at Walmart, Target, or Applebee's. It's one of the 3. That's where it's one of those 3 and nowhere else. Oh man.
Yes. All right, so here we are. We're in a nondescript dirt lot. There's about, I would say, 100 trucks and maybe like 15 buses and 40 cars.
Once you get this shot, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's already the ingredients are out there.
So we're at the official Freedom Convoy 22 merchandise store. There's this hat. It's $25.
Bro, Americans are so dumb. They will buy anything that has the word freedom on it. Like, it is just wild to me. Like, oh, if you really want to make money, just sell, like, an American flag with, like something with American flag design and have, like, the words freedom on the bottom, and then you are gonna make a shit ton of money off of these clowns. Oh, man, this is great.
There's the sticker right here. It says, I did that. I'm not sure if...
Okay, this is actually kind of funny. I did that. Oh, man, I actually kind of want this sticker. You're gonna die regardless of the vaccine. I mean, you're gonna die either way, so, like, what's the harm in, like, getting a shot? But, man, I really want this sticker, man. That's fucking awesome. Like, if I actually get, like, the sticker or something, I would slap it on my PC and, like, actually start putting stickers on my PC then.
It's a good or a bad thing, but this is a sticker from an anarcho-communist bookstore.
Wait, which
good or a
one?
bad thing, but this is a
Oh yeah, no, this is an anarcho-communist flag here. Like, the red and the black like this is anarcho-communist. That's actually pretty cool. If I ever go to the States, I should check it out.
From an anarcho-communist bookstore called AK Press that I got in Chico, California. Fucking taking it off. Why? Because it has the anarcho-communist flag on it. Basically the Gadsden flag of Antifa.
Do any of you want any
Antifa.
What's it? What do they say?
Trump?
Did you get some food?
Yeah, we did get some food a little bit earlier. We got some burritos at the gas
and
station.
it was delicious.
Thank you.
And the hot chocolate was just marvelous.
So anyway, I'm from Arizona, Oklahoma. We're 30 miles west of here. Thanksgiving of 2019, there was no Black Friday here. This place shut down. The oil field left Elk City, and this place went barren. So our town population went from about 1,200 to about 800.
The collapse of oil prices over the past 9 months is...
I mean, this is what happened. This is what happens when, with industries in general, is that a lot of these places that were built up in like the 80s or 90s or something like that, or even before then, whenever there's like a cheaper alternative to where they are currently, they are going to move their production or anywhere else in the course for stuff like manufacturing, for example, or when like say coal or oil dries up in an area in like, I don't know, fucking Ohio or some other place like that, a lot of the companies are just going to leave. Like it happens here too. Some people are very passionate about hot chocolate. I mean, yeah, I am one of those people. I will gladly drink hot chocolate over over coffee any day. Like, I love hot chocolate. I'd rather have tea, to be honest, but hot chocolate's just as good.
Stunted economic growth throughout the oil industry, leading to the loss of numerous rigs, thousands of jobs, and billions.
And that's another thing why like so many of these people become radical and like hogs, is because like they're out of work, right? And they have like nothing better to do. And they're like, what kind of work can they do? Like they have to essentially, like younger people in rural areas and like old oil towns and stuff like that, they have to go to like college or university, and then which like is stupid expensive, and they have to try and go to like one of the major cities to try to compete to get a job there, and it's really sad.
Of dollars from state and local economies. Places like Elk City have plenty of experience with both booms and busts.
Nothing's been happening out here. Nothing. The oil field shut the hell down. Right now, we are capitalizing on this movement. It's almost catharsis, where we're finally realizing that it doesn't matter what I earn. It really matters what I can give away. The news expects me to invest emotionally and spiritually into this Ukraine bullshit. My investing is into these issues that are happening right here.
The war in
I mean, like, I completely understand and don't disagree with that, though. Like, I do fully, like, understand where he's coming from, right? Because, like, if he isn't able to, like, support his family and stuff, like, in the community that he grew up in and everything, like, yeah, no, like, of course. I mean, yeah, he does have a point, right? And that point being, like, I know what the message he's essentially trying to get across is, but, like, he is right about that. Like, a lot of these oil and coal towns and places that rely on manufacturing, like, a lot of those jobs disappear because either the resources in those areas have dried up, it's cheaper to manufacture things into a different area, or like you can just ship it across seas and like not even and like pay them like, I don't know, like fucking pennies, and then stuff like that, right? Like it's sad. Like no one should have to fucking put up with that.
in Ukraine has entered a new phase of brutality.
He wants better quality of life for everyone, and everyone wants a better life. I mean, yeah, like Well, I mean, like, what else is he gonna do though? Like, it's sad that, like, even though he's a hog, like, I still feel sad for him because, like, there's not too much he can do about that. Maybe if, the working class had a little bit more power in, like, say, the form of a union or something, that shit wouldn't be happening.
As Russia seems to be targeting civilians trying to flee their country.
President Biden today banned all imports of Russian energy into the
we're good. I
U.S.
think there's no
That means
TOS.
Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports.
Gasoline is now higher than it's ever been in the history
Oh God, not
of
Tucker.
gasoline. A total boycott of Russian energy would cause, quote, an absolute global disaster. We'd be forced to make up the difference by getting more oil from other countries.
We buy oil from Iran now. Why the fuck are we buying oil from Iran?
Because I actually can answer that guy's question. Because the US imports a fuck ton of oil. And like their two biggest importers are us, being Canada, and Iran. Like a lot of the oil that the US has is not theirs. Like that they're using. Like a vast majority of it is imported. Like there are some instances where that's not the case. Like they do have oil reserves on US soil, but they're not using that until they absolutely have to.
We have as much oil as the United Arab Emirates. The technology needs to take a giant leap forward. And where's the technology gone? The technology belongs to TikTok, and it belongs to motherfucking Facebook.
Get on Gab.
Yeah, he's right about that though. Like a vast majority of the technology doesn't actually help out the proletariat class. For the most part, it helps out sites like, say, Facebook or giant fucking lobbyists like Exxon, for example. Like, he's 100% right about that.
Get on what?
Get on Gab.
Why should I get on Gab?
For speech. Now, if you don't like something, move along.
Okay, you want to know the funny thing about Gab? Like, after Parler closed down, all like the fucking white supremacists moved over to Gab, and like even like Parler was fucking boring for them because they can't own liberals. Like, owning the libs are something that the hogs love doing. Like, don't get me wrong, I kind of enjoy owning libs too, as a leftist, but like, no. Why the fuck would you ever go on Gab?
You want to say something?
What's something I could say on Gab that I couldn't say anywhere else?
Fuck you, bitch, cunt. You can.
I mean, has this lady ever been on Twitter? You could technically say all of those things. Like, there are neo-Nazis on Twitter still, and they say this kind of shit all the time. It's fucking wild. Like, the only reason why they're so sad is because, like, either they got banned for saying, like, a bunch of fucking white supremacist stuff, and, like, neo-Nazi shit, or, that Trump is on there. And then they got sad because Trump was kicked off of Twitter for inciting an insurrection.
And also say, hey, I question the moon landing. I question anything. The flat earthers are welcome there.
The flat earthers are there?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Flat gang, baby.
Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised that flat earthers are there? Oh man, that's great.
Can we see the poem now, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. This is the People's Freedom, and I was just kind of writing it. And Holy Spirit will download to me a first line.
Okay.
And then it just flows from there. Healing comes when we speak truth and know it is God's word. Manifest in everything we say as we take on all the tasks, as we journey forward without masks.
Yes.
Amen.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So what are you most looking forward to from the People's Convoy?
Moments like this, knowing that He is here and He put this together. We are here for a cause.
And what is the cause?
The cause is freedom for the people and coming back and taking our nation back.
I really wish we had more hogs like this in Canada. It makes me sad that America has all of them. Like it's so sad. It's so saddening. Like I want to watch these people in Canada and make fun of them. I just want to watch the world burn. World on fire seems something that would be bother everyone but me. I mean, I don't know. These people might agree with you on that.
How are we going to take it
Fucking
back?
weirdos.
What's the plan whenever we all get to DC?
They're not telling us.
Oh, that's a good sign.
This is not a war of flesh. This is
Spiritual warfare.
and you know it.
I know what you mean.
There are a lot of people who don't know. You are under an anointing and under a destiny right here, right now. You have glory in you that you haven't even met yet. You don't realize.
I'm not taking sides, by the way. Oh no, I'm not saying that you are. But oh man, I really wish we had more people like this in Canada. I'm so sad that we don't.
The beauty and the assignment that the Lord has for you, but He's coming on you so strong. He is going to come on you so mighty because you are going into your destiny.
Yep.
You are walking into your destiny and you are living love as you walk. You are seeking truth as you go. And I declare and I decree that you are finding your will is His will. Your way is the Father's way. And as you seek His heart, He is seeking yours even more. And He's going to bless you in greater ways than you can ever imagine.
I'm guessing this is the day of.
Shit! We woke up too damn late now. Everybody's gone.
Oh no.
So we planned to wake up in the morning and interview some more truckers, but we woke up at 11:30 and literally every single person is gone.
Oh, look, there's a guy here.
You had a rough night, looked like.
Certainly did.
Looked like some bitch fucked the dog shit out of you.
Yeah.
Anyway, have fun.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. These guys go 55 miles an hour and we go 85 in the left lane, so we should be on their tail in no time.
Yeah, that's true. I find it funny that people go to so much extremes to send a message. I mean, yeah, that is true. I mean, like I don't think I go to extremes to send a message. Like I think I'm usually pretty respectful about it. I just like making fun of people like this though, because it's fun. I mean, yeah, it 100% is fun.
I feel good. How do you feel about this town?
I don't like it.
Channel 5, don't stop it.
Oh, I love this guy. He's keeping it 55th Street. We'll have to watch this video at some point if we haven't already. We'll have to watch him.
Custer City. Fuck Custer City. The city's full of custers and nobodies. You are somebody. Much love and respect. And safe travels for y'all. Oh.
What are you doing?
I'm a truck driver.
Bro, what the fuck? Oh my god. Why are Americans doing that to me? Like, come on, man. Don't do that to me. I don't like seeing a fucking racist depiction of my people.
And I was trying to catch the convoy, Freedom Convoy going through. They're ahead of me by 2.5 hours. Sure would be nice, be cool, because they're looking out for our freedom and our glory and everything else.
Hell
right
yeah,
now,
brother.
you know, even with the fuel prices the way they are, it's a big concern. And that's the reason why this convoy is going up there. Not just because of the mandate.
Did you get the vaccine?
I did, yes. And I got the booster and I'm fine.
You got the booster?
Yes.
I haven't got that one yet. I mean,
Wait, this guy's boosted up? Fucking poggers. I did not expect this guy to be like fully vaccinated plus boosted up. I did not expect that. It's fucking awesome, man.
Should. It's for everybody's health and everything else. I know there's companies that may shut down in Chicago. A lot of the distribution centers and stuff are shutting down.
Well, don't forget this president likes to put names on lists.
I know.
And those lists are hit lists, right?
It's okay.
They elected a socialist government, and we're reaping the results. We fought Russia, we fought China, North Korea. We fought all those right there in Vietnam when I was 17.
Why'd you volunteer?
I mean, like, in Vietnam, though, it was like, it wasn't even Russia, it was the entire Soviet Union, which contains, like, stuff like Ukraine, Crimea, countries like that, right? And then North Korea was having its own fucking problems, so, like, North Korea, they didn't really do anything, and, like, China wasn't really care, because I think they were underneath Maoist rule. But, like, it doesn't really matter.
I believed in America, and I believed.
And, like, Vietnam was on the U.S. was on the wrong side of Vietnam anyways. It was a fucking horrible, dumb war.
I could do something to help.
Was there ever a time you thought you might not make it home?
When I stepped through the pillar of an E-2 Hawkeye, if your heart is right with the Lord, you can walk towards a person that's shooting bullets at you. And I've been there. That's all I got.
A lot of the people that have actually been in the Vietnam War have either become like neo-Nazis and shit like that, and like became like a next level hog, or they suffered like tremendous amounts of PTSD and shit, which both fucking suck. Like it's unfortunate for both of those outcomes.
Thank you for your service, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Have a good day,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thanks, man. We're in Oklahoma City now. I haven't been here in a couple years, but last time I was here was when I was hitchhiking when I was like a teen. Kind of in the middle of this journey, I spent a bunch of time in Oklahoma, and that's where I made like 2 of my best friends on this whole trip. This girl named Cassandra, and then this pedicab guy named Sherman.
People don't really think about cities like this as like a fun place necessarily. So when you meet people who can make you have hella fun, and you realize that like being on the road's fun, and there are cool people like that everywhere, it kind of makes you want to keep going.
I actually haven't seen either of them in like maybe 5 or 6 years, but I know that Sherman works at a liquor store somewhere around here.
Oh, he's gonna reconnect with some of his friends.
How you doing? Good to see you, bro. Good to see you, bro. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. If I had to describe Andrew in 3 words, it would be smart, tall, and fast.
I used to call him Sperman effing her, because his name is Sherman effing her. Sperman effing her, da 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 da. Show me your dick, you know? That was my shtick.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
I miss you guys. Yeah, missed you too, dude. I don't think I've run that fast in my life since we ran from the cops, or like the security guards that, like, you remember when we...
Wait, what the fuck was Andrew doing 5 years ago? What the hell?
I don't know about you, but
Damn
was
it, I wish I could read lips.
freaking out, dude. Like that we were gonna get...
My feet were like fucked up from that.
Dude, Andrew and I definitely smelled bad whenever we first met, for sure. It was summertime, and in Tulsa, we were just like running around, dancing at bars, that kind of stuff. So yeah, you know, it's cool to see how he's matured.
That's good.
It's not bad. It's our like staff take calls.
It's good. Very good.
Well, you don't know.
Rap group that they all were in called.
No.
It was this.
Let's not talk about it. Best to just
got-
avoid.
It was fucking funny, man. The whole premise of this rap group are these boys, Sherman's friends, who talk about.
Give a dog a blowjob, yeah.
They put me on a track. I was the only girl to ever make a track.
Nutty on the dick, slutty on the dick,
Fuck
something
around
that.
and I'ma get. I think I said the N-word. Actually.
Yeah, that was her line.
I go nutty on the dick, slutty on the dick, fuck around and I'ma bust a nut on your shit, then twitch, and I'm off to the next, trying to find the best gay ass.
Something like that, yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
okay. I thought he was actually gonna say it. I was a little bit concerned for a moment there.
Girl that you ever felt like
What? We
sexual
got it on.
feelings.
Had the hots for you. Definitely was like making out with you. Stairwells, you know what I'm saying? In between.
I mean, like, doesn't most like instances where that happens, isn't it, like mostly a thing sometimes? Because I know I know I've had that feeling for sure, especially when I was younger, right?
Between like auditorium sessions or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
German class, right?
Yeah.
I was giving him a hand job in the back of class.
So, how many hand jobs? What's the total tally for lifetime Sherman hand jobs?
I don't know. Somewhere like over 25.
My man.
On the
Andrew knows some very interesting people. It's crazy, man.
People's Convoy. They've been traveling from California since last week and are arriving in Veneta tonight. KOAM's Shannon Becker has more.
I believe the world is round. I'll say that. Absolutely 100%.
I love the fact that he starts off with, "I believe that the world is round." Like, at least tell me that he believes that the moon is a hologram. Please tell me at least he believes that, because that's what it is, brother.
I believe it's round. I've been around it. I believe it's round. But I will defend to my death, and I mean that sincerely. Take a fucking bullet in my head. I will defend to my death the right for someone who believes it's flat to do everything they can to sell me on that concept, because they have the right to say the world is flat. Amen. Period. End of fucking story. And listen, if you want to do heroin, do heroin. If you want to take a jab, take a jab. You can do anything you want to do to your own body.
The voices in my head are real, believe me, I'm not crazy. I mean, yeah, like, fuck, these people are just really interesting. Like, I really wish we had more of them here.
But don't make me do something to my body with this screwed up morality that I'm doing it for others. The government.
So, like, this is actually one of the major flaws that I've had with, like, the Western response to COVID, is that since a lot of people in the West, especially in North America, how like, we are very hyper individualistic. So what we should have been doing was saying, take this for you, because it's going to protect you. Like, that's the approach we should have taken, because of how brain broken we are, as well as you know, we're also, like, very hyper individualistic as well. So there's that.
Should not be scared of the people, but to respect the people and know that the people are in charge. We're in charge. They're not in charge. We're in charge, per our Constitution.
I guess it's the day of the convoy, baby.
Bright and early, baby.
Hey, you guys. Why everybody leave so early?
Because they're running the 2 lanes.
Oh, okay.
I think they're running the 2 lanes.
And then don't your toes get cold?
No.
Don't your toes get cold?
Brother, shit.
That was a really bad reason. It's like a warm state.
I'm from Texas, brother. Like, if he was from, like, somewhere, say, like, I don't know, fucking North Dakota, like, I could get behind that. Like, it would make sense, but, like, Texas is, like, one of the fucking warmest states. Like, it's crazy to me. Everybody else doesn't matter. Get vaccinated to save your life. That is the message that they should have sent out. I mean, yeah, that's what they should have. Like, I don't disagree with that at all. They should have 100%, like, been pushing that. But, like, for the most part, like, I think that we have been doing it, have done a pretty good job about it in general. Like, when it came to COVID, like, for the most part, everyone was really good about wearing masks. People were really good about getting vaccinated. Like, even, like, early COVID, when we didn't have a surplus of PPE when it came to COVID, everyone still like did their fair share of social distancing as well and quarantining. Maybe, well, maybe not that exactly, but you get the idea. I mean, yeah, like I think the messaging that the Liberals sent out was pretty bad. Like, for the most part, we've been pretty good about it. Like, we've had like 85% vaccination rate or something like that, which provided isn't enough to reach herd immunity, but is better than the U.S., where I think it's like half of people, if I'm not mistaken.
Grapes a good morning snack? Yeah. Grapes are good. You guys like grapes? No, I want a sandy.
Oh yeah, so something interesting about me, like, whenever I eat grapes, like, I love grapes. Whenever I eat grapes, my stomach really hurts, and then I have, like, the worst time in the bathroom. And I think it also happens to me for kiwi, which really sucks. I enjoy both of those things, but I can't eat them. Because I think I have, like, I think I have a problem with, like, some form of acid sensitivity. You just eat grapes earlier. Well, that's not what I mean. Like, I think I have, like, some form of acid sensitivity that they have that I can't eat, which really sucks because I really enjoy grapes and kiwi.
Sando. It's better to start with a sando.
And I found that out the hard way. I went to my grandma's and she had grapes there, and I ate grapes as like a snack before supper, and I was in the bathroom for like I want to say like a good half an hour. And my grandma felt so bad about that. And like, you don't have to feel sorry. You don't have to feel bad about that. I didn't know that was going to happen to me because it's the first time that's actually happened to me. And then I went to my great grandma's when she was still alive, and I had grapes, and I had the same problem. Like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't eat grapes. I forgot I had a problem with eating grapes.
3 sandos.
Everybody tell her I'm stealing, but I hope that she see the best in me. That she feeling the kid like I'm getting. That she feeling. I wish you could have. You should have got the accelerating. Last night we was vibing so tough. She fucking with me and I'm fucking with her. I wish we could run on somewhere nice. On the island,
yeah.
My wife. Hopefully I can start living shites like we back from the day. Let's go start a new life.
We just pulled over on the side of the road in Oklahoma. There's some people up there who are encouraging the convoy, so we're gonna go talk to them to figure out what's on their mind.
I mean, that's one way to get up there.
I've got 3 family members.
Oh my god. Is this really a thing in the US? Like, do they actually have stickers like this? Like, America's gun culture is wild. Impose of adaptation overcome, yeah. Like, this is just wild. America's gun culture is crazy, man.
That own trucking companies, and you know, right now they're having a hard time with the high fuel prices and the price of inflation just operating as a company. You know, they're small businesses. I think more people ought to get behind them. You know, this country's got some problems. I believe this is still the greatest country there is, but I think we need to agree to disagree more.
Are you a police officer?
Yes, sir. I'm Chief of Police, Fairland Police Department.
How come you don't arrest the guy whose hoodie says outlaw and the back of his hat says wanted?
Well, I know that guy very well, actually.
Oh no. It just proves my point that all fucking cops suck, man. Oh man, the police are part of the problem.
He is an outlaw, but he's a good outlaw that way. So.
Oh, it's like the conservative rhetoric of like, you know, fucking hating brown people. Like, oh, we don't like everyone else, but like the one guy that either I know or agrees with me is one of the good ones, right? Like, oh my god. It's crazy, man.
He's not actively wanted for anything.
No, he's not actively wanted for it. Well, maybe for his bad welding. You might ask him about that. We have a really good community, so I can't complain much.
A lot of people here respect the police.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Fuck the police. These tyrants behind us. They gave you an interview. I wonder if they'll give me one. I bet they won't.
So you don't like the police?
I don't like them. I cop watch because.
If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem or something like that. I mean, yeah. But I like the fact that, you know, Cop says that everyone likes them. And then they interview this chick and she's like, fuck the police. Oh, that's fucking great.
Because I'm an American and the police violate people's rights every day.
Cop watches?
I follow them around Ottawa County. And
Wait, there's a thing called cop watchers? What? I did not even know about this. Wait, what? I gotta take a look at this. Is this actually a thing? Bro, what the hell? An activist organization. Typically anonymous and focused on local areas in the US, Canada, and Europe. Europe, and that observe and document police activity while looking for signs of police misconduct and police brutality. They believe that monitoring the police activity on the streets is the way to prevent police brutality. I mean, yeah, that makes sense, right?
well, they violate people's rights, and that's why we're having this convoy right now, is for our rights.
Are you a Trump supporter?
He can grab me in my pussy anytime.
Bro, what? This woman is so confusing to me. Like, it's so confusing. What? Top portraits of the Illuminati. Maybe. Like, this woman is just crazy. Like, she has, like, the mentality that, like, all cops fucking suck, right? Which, for the most part, I do agree with. They do suck. But yet, she also, like, fucking... Okay, well, that's not true. She likes Donald Trump, and I actually kind of like Donald Trump, too. He's very fucking entertaining.
So you don't back the blue?
No, I don't.
Seems like a lot of people in the convoy do.
Yeah, I noticed that. Everybody here's a bootlicker or a deep throater. You know what I'm saying? I support the truckers.
We're so proud of them. I'm glad they're standing up for freedom. We're losing our freedom.
How come?
Oh, mandates and everything else. Inflation, fuel prices for these truckers is outrageous. It just makes no sense.
So how has the price of fuel affected people's livelihood around here?
We buy off-road diesel for farming use. It is doubled almost, and we put $100 in our pickup about every 3 days to go feed cattle. And if they would open up the XL Keystone pipeline...
Which is a pipeline that does not exist, by the way.
That's the best way to shut Russia down, is...
Actually, no. The best way to shut Russia down is becoming energy independent by using things like renewable energy sources and nuclear energy. That's how you attack Russia. But, like, you know, I also think that we should be nationalizing our extraction industries as well, so there's that.
...is use our own oil. I mean, this don't make no sense. But thank you all for coming ahead of us.
Another thing is I resent the national media ignoring all of this and many other serious issues.
Solve the bigger problem by solving the smaller problems first. I mean, yes and no. Like, there are some really big problems that, regardless of what you do, you're gonna have to solve, like, immediately, right? Say, like, say housing for people that need it, right? the way you solve that is, you know, by giving people housing, like, and like not giving a shit what the market has to say. But like there's a lot of other things that you have to take care of as well. Like you can't just focus on the smaller ones. You have to focus on the bigger ones too. The best way to go about it is starting from the roots of the problem and then working your way up. That's generally the best form of attack to solve the problem. Like just really any problems in general. Come on, bro.
Trucker convoy. Can't stop traffic, baby. Can't stop the news.
Let's treat the cause, not the symptoms. I mean, yeah, of course. But we're too focused on trying to treat the symptoms of our problems rather than actually attacking the cause of it, right? I mean, it's the same way when it comes to viruses too. Like for things like we create like vaccines and shit, but that's more or less of like more of a preventative measure, which I don't necessarily disagree with. Like, but yeah, no, you do 100% need to attack the root cause of the problem in general.
How you doing? How you doing? Good. You doing good? Are you with the convoy?
No, I got a delivery to make.
And yeah, remember when, you know, all the convoy people were like, oh, we support the fucking truckers and everything, but yet they end up holding up the truckers in the fucking convoy and like not letting them pass through the border. Remember that? I know I remember.
I'm a professional truck driver. I've been over the road for only 5 years, and to be a part of this is it brought.
The question now becomes, what's the biggest problem that we can solve? I mean, it depends on what your definition of the biggest problem is. For me, it would be like the capitalist economic system and the things that the forms of oppression that we put in place, whether it be like economic, racial, stuff like that. Like that's what I think the biggest problems are, or what the biggest problem is. But you're gonna have to tackle a bunch of problems that stem from the capitalist system.
Brought tears to my eyes because, again, America's finally coming together for something.
To you, what is the People's Convoy all about?
Freedom.
And I also like how Andrew found like the one trucker that's in support of the convoy.
That's what our military did for us, freedom. So the truckers are doing it.
When people hear freedom, a lot of times they think it's the right to do what they want to do. But true freedom is the right to do what you ought to do.
Wait, what?
what people ought to do?
Help people be free. We didn't used to.
Like how you guys helped Vietnam be free and helped the Middle East be free, right? You guys are just spreading freedom, right?
To let things happen.
She just said the same thing twice. I mean, yeah, she did.
We used to take care of bullies.
Okay, that's kind of ironic coming from the US though. Like America is the biggest bully on the planet. Like they bully everyone into submission. Like it's crazy to me. Like we do it too, but like still.
Like when?
Like when? Like in Germany?
Oh no. Oh no, she did not just go there. What the fuck? Oh, that's a red flag if I've ever seen one. What the fuck?
Right? Back in the old days, I mean, Did you guys watch any John Wayne westerns or John Wayne military movies?
I've seen a couple.
Oh no.
I mean, it's not fair what's happening in the world.
People's Convoy, Day 3.
What's your favorite cartoons?
The Garfield. Phineas and Ferb. The Garfield Show.
How would you feel if Fortnite got taken offline forever?
I would cry for the rest of my life.
What's up, little man?
Hey.
What are you thinking about?
Going home.
Why?
I'm cold.
What's your favorite thing to do when you're home?
Play Fortnite.
What's your favorite Fortnite dance?
The floss.
That's called the floss?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to die. Because the movies are totally accurate representations of history. I mean, let's just do this. Let's just do this for a second. Let's just do that for a second.
Thanks, man. What's on your mind?
I'm just happy to be here.
How do you feel about trucks?
They're awesome.
What's your favorite kind of truck?
GMC trucks.
Oh no.
My
The worst kind of trucks. What the hell, my guy?
Man. What's up, dude?
What's up?
What are you thinking about?
Trucks.
You like trucks?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're big and they're cool.
What's the coolest thing about a truck?
That they're big and cool.
How do you feel about COVID?
It sucks.
Hell yeah, brother.
These big rigs have a lot to say. I'm seeing a lot of trucks. I'm hearing a lot of horns. The convoy has arrived. They're flying down the freeway at 45 miles an hour. This is a slow roll trucker protest, baby. Can I get a fuck Joe Biden? All right, we
Let's go,
finally caught these
Brandon.
bastards. Here we are. We're in Missouri. It's the trucker convoy.
Wait, what does that say? What was the open pipe? What? That's so confusing. What?
Boy, there's fucking hundreds of them. They're rolling.
Dude! Bro!
Fantastic.
Fantastic Caverns, next exit!
Okay, I have to go there with some of my friends. Fantastic Caverns, that's fucking awesome. The brand that I didn't like. I need to be angry now. Yeah. Fantastic Caverns. I have to go there with some friends. It's so much fun.
Evan! Fantastic Cavern! Yes! Yeah, buddy! Yes!
Fantastic Cavern.
What?
They should just
Fantastic Cavern.
They should just go there instead.
Yes, buddy. Yes, baby.
All right, we're pretty deep in traffic now on the people.
Can you name your colon the Fantastic Cavern? That would be awesome. I never even thought about that. Oh, hell yeah. I should 100% do that. You want to see my Fantastic Cavern, baby?
People's Convoy going toward Indianapolis, but we need a little breath of fresh air, so we're gonna go to the Fantastic Caverns at exit 79 on Interstate 44.
We're getting close,
Let's
fellas.
go.
We're getting close. Have you guys ever been to the caverns before?
Fantastic Caverns?
Yeah. Can you tell us about it?
It's got a pretty cool train ride through it.
What?
Are you guys gonna go do it?
I've never been, but we're trying to go to the Fantastic Caverns.
For Halloween. Fuck you.
Yeah, I took my daughter there earlier this year.
Okay, what can we expect to see at the Fantastic Caverns?
It's a pretty good little tour, guided tour through it, but it's a nice little train ride. Probably takes like an hour and a half.
That's a long time.
I would do it.
Is it a cavern?
Yeah.
Is it fantastic?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You guys have fun.
Thanks, man.
Oh,
look, dude.
Oh, fuck. We're so fucking close, bro.
I'm concerned that Fantastic Caverns is for babies.
No.
This is it?
This looks like a tech campus. This looks like a shitty corporate parking.
Okay, 3 adults gonna be $95.37.
Bro, what?
Cavern specialist on site that we could talk to?
I mean, your tour guide.
Oh, okay,
but,
cool. So what's so fantastic about these caverns?
This is the only one in America that you get to ride through, and you get to. We've been doing it since 1962, and it's the easy way to see the cave. You're going to be on the tram the entire time.
Would you mind if we put a microphone on you so that we can record for the YouTube channel?
If you want to.
Are you excited?
I'm super excited.
We're going to go down here a little bit, and we're going to talk about the different formations that are in this cave and how they're actually formed here in the Ozarks. So hang on tight. We'll come down here and talk about stalagmites and stalactites. This is a stalagmite.
Bro, this is awesome.
Now they both grow, as you can see, one drip at a time from the ceiling to the stalagmite. And the way that happens is when the water goes through the limestone ceiling, it pulls the minerals of the limestone out of the rock, and that's calcite. As the water gets into the cave, it begins to evaporate almost immediately.
Ask him for the mic and tell him we have an emergency. We need to get the fuck out of here. This is so goddamn boring.
Amazing grace.
I'm getting the hell out of here.
How sweet the sound that saves.
I want to know how hard, or I want to know the hard way through the Fantastic Caverns. The hard way is always more fun. I mean, yeah, it generally is. I mean, it seems like it would be a mixture of both entertaining and boring. On March 1st, 2022, Nick Norsham was permanently banned from the Fantastic Caverns. Wait, why was he banned? Oh, probably because he ran away. What a waste of money, to be honest. I mean, yeah. Like, I think that they should have more guides like that, but, like, less boring. Video evidence of his plunge into the restricted depths of the Fantastic Caverns and the horrifying things that he documented there were deleted by security. Oh, unfortunate, man. They're hiding something there. What are they hiding there? Are they hiding aliens? Only one documented piece of evidence remains showing Nick's monsters inside the Fantastic Caverns. Oh no.
Cash App, the best way to pay for a Fantastic Caverns ticket.
Come on, man.
Cash App isn't just a peer-to-peer money sending service. It's actually like a bank you can use to invest in stocks,
I was so
cryptocurrency, and
stuttered.
stuff like that.
Cash App.
Cash App.
At least his ads aren't long.
We're now in St. Louis, Missouri, so I figured that we would check up on the. Shut the fuck up! God damn it!
Let's go again.
It's day 4 of the People's Convoy. We're in St. Louis, Missouri, so I think we're gonna go check up on the progress of the Uhuru basketball court. A lot of you may not know about the Uhuru basketball court, but our friend Saddam about 2 months ago went to a reparations march in Oakland that was hosted by an organization called Uhuru Solidarity, which has the slogan, "White Solidarity with Black Power."
Payla.
As white people, we have always upheld the lie that America is the home of freedom and democracy. But the reality
Oh wait,
is very
no,
different.
that's not.
Long before
He's
Trump
actually
and
right
the
about
cries of
that.
fascism, African people were catching hell.
Something is wrong with this reality.
And they were in Oakland, in West Oakland specifically, collecting
There-
reparations from other white people.
I'm a descendant of settlers, and I believe in reparations in
Oh man, I love liberals so much.
order to heal our nation.
To fund a basketball court here in St. Louis, Missouri. So we're gonna go to the basketball court's proposed site, see what's going on, and see if we can ball up.
looks like nothing has been built quite yet.
Oh, that's so funny.
The People's Convoy traveled from Missouri to Morgan County today. WRTV's Amber Grigley met up with the group in Monrovia to learn about the message they are bringing to the Capitol.
Hey, there's a dog.
Hey y'all.
How's it going?
So you guys are all the way from California.
Yeah.
If you want to save a couple bucks, there's a guy giving away free sandwiches and chips and drinks all the way at the front.
Awesome.
Save a couple bucks.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
You guys be safe.
Like, ask me how I'm doing. Like, pretty loud.
How are you doing?
One more time.
What's on your mind?
Ask me how I'm doing.
How are you doing?
I mean, I have antsies in my pantsies because I want the real McCoy. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
Do you guys know what I mean? I want to interview like the actual organizers, like not just like all these people like with the convoy. I want to talk to the people who actually set this whole thing up.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious because like I know for the fact that like you could argue that here in Canada it was mostly like a grassroots thing, but like in the States it really wasn't. You had people organizing it, so I'm kind of curious to see if he's able to talk to them. I really hope he's able to.
Hey!
Oh, shit!
Get down, Willie Brown! How you guys doing, man? Here's all our people right here.
Good to see you, man.
You too, Andrew. How are you? Hey, good to see you. Kobe Bryant was assassinated by the Clintons. Here we are, Channel 5 live worldwide, Hollywood and
Oh
Vine.
yeah, this guy. I forgot about this guy. This guy is fucking crazy, man. Oh man.
What this is?
What is that?
Radioactive.
That's the name of the color?
No, I named it. You hear all this, man. This is great. Look at all the flags. Look at all the flags blowing right over here. Look at all the flags blowing right here. I see 3 bangers. 4 bangers.
Holy hell, that's a lot of fucking flags. The fuck?
3 banger, 4 banger, 5 banger, but those are all just on the plastic poles, not those Sherman-Williams extendable paint poles. However, what I would like to see is maybe a little chokehold on DC and maybe shut it down like Ottawa did up in Canada.
What do you think about what's going on in Ukraine right now?
I have 2 now, but this guy seems interesting. All right, well, see you later. I'll probably end up finishing this then.
What I think is going on in Ukraine right now is that people need to understand it's not an invasion.
I'm gonna miss out. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's military action by Putin as he's trying to take down these America designed and built and run bioweapons labs where they're creating viruses. It's basically Wuhan.
I mean, you know, I keep going.
Times 20.
They can easily fake a war if they wanted to. All they would do is just like film a few things and then put out in the news what they want. The media is totally corrupt. You can't trust the media.
Are you aware that the majority of the pictures that they've been showing regarding the alleged war are unrelated to Ukraine?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Does your boyfriend have the same political affiliations as you?
Yes.
Good.
Hey,
Sounds like a good guy.
Tell him to come over here.
What's his name?
What kind of boyfriend?
He's
Come on over.
Come here. He's camera shy.
Come and say hi. Your gal keeps taking my voice.
How you doing, man? What kind of music do you make?
Hair metal type stuff.
What do you think about what's going on over in Ukraine?
Don't trust the media about whatever they spin on it, but I mean, you look at certain things like we shouldn't have anything to do with it at all. Let
I mean, he's right about that, though.
them figure out their own mess.
He's right about that.
Putin is doing the right thing. He's taken out the Kashirian mafia. The man's not an evil man. Here's the thing: the media is doing what they're doing and sharing the, excuse my French, the crap about him because he's over the target.
Do you think there's even a war going on out there?
No, not at all.
It's confusing to me because it seemed like just like 6 to 8 months ago, people talked about Putin like he was a socialist, communist dictator. And now it seems that people are pretty sympathetic and supportive of Putin. Why has this change occurred?
Well, the deep state has always made Putin to look like the bad guy. But he's a good guy. He's taken out all the biolabs, child trafficking areas, adrenochrome harvesting areas. If people would have watched when Trump came into office right at the beginning, when you saw them hand that soccer ball off, that soccer ball had so much information in it to take down everybody that Putin's been getting all the intel on for years. It had a lot of data in it.
Bro, this guy's fucking crazy. What the hell is he going on about?
And that's what's going on. I hate the fact that people are dying over this, World War III, but unfortunately, it's going to happen.
Can you tell us about your shirt?
Well, I got woken up in the middle of the night just before Halloween and was told that I needed to go to Dallas.
It was a very strange scene in Dallas yesterday. QAnon believers lined up on the grassy knoll. You guys know this grassy knoll. It's the site of the JFK assassination. They believed that the president's late son, JFK Jr., would miraculously appear and that he would help Donald Trump take back power and agree to be his running mate. In case you don't remember, JFK Jr. died tragically in 1999, of course.
These people are crazy, man. What?
In a terrible plane crash with his wife and her sister, Carolyn Bessette.
Didn't he die a long time ago?
Well, they had to fake his death because the Hillary wanted him dead. And so JFK Jr. was there.
Really?
Yes, he was there.
Did you see him?
No.
Yes. I can't go into a whole lot of detail.
You don't sound super sure about that, I'm not gonna lie.
Freedom! Truckers of America are ready! The people of America are ready! This is getting insane!
All right, we're here backstage at this facility of the People's Convoy. We're gonna go talk to the chief organizer, who's an attorney named Lee Dundas. Oops. All right, we're here backstage at this facility of the People's Convoy. We're gonna go talk to the chief organizer, who's an attorney named Lee Dundas.
Lee Dundas, attorney. I was kicked out of Sprouts last night. I was not allowed to buy food for my family in Orange County, California, notwithstanding the fact I have a medical exemption.
I actually interviewed her 2 years ago at the first coronavirus lockdown protest at the Sacramento Capitol.
Prolonged lockdown basically is slavery.
Do you feel enslaved?
I do. I'm a type A lawyer, and I'm bouncing off the walls of my living room because I can't go out.
We'll see if she recognizes me or what happens.
Hey, Lee, now are you going to go back to the hotel, or do you want to chat Andrew real quick for a couple minutes?
Yeah, I can chat really quick.
Hey, Andrew, good to meet you.
Andrew Cannon, Channel 5 News, you too.
So for those who don't know, can you tell us your name and how you're involved in the People's Convoy?
Sure. My name is Lee Dundas. I'm a human rights attorney from California, and I got a call from some of the truckers a while ago, and they were saying, hey, it's been 2 years. We kind of feel like it's time to be done. You know, there's medicines and protocols out there that have dropped the case numbers. We just need to go back to work, unfettered, no restrictions, no mandates, get rid of these abusive states of emergency that Congress nationally and the executive branches and some of the states have been declaring, and we want to take this message peacefully from coast to coast. And I said, I'm 100% down with that. I agree 100% with your message. How can I serve? Right. So we've just been helping them resource the various skill sets and other tangibles.
I would not want her as my fucking... I wouldn't want her as my fucking
How have
lawyer.
the mandates affected truckers specifically?
You know, initially Trudeau closed down the border to any transnational movement of international long-haul truckers that were carrying goods. If they weren't vaccinated, he made it almost impossible to get over the border, which was a really stupid move in the middle of negative 32-degree January winter in Canada, because they rely more on us than we do them. And then Biden followed.
Wait, what? That's not even true, though.
A week later with a matching set of rules from our side. So it essentially closed the border to anybody who was unvaccinated.
What fraction of truckers do you think are unvaccinated?
I don't know, but I heard a...
Yeah, 50 to 60% in the U.S. It's like 90 to 95 here.
Statement I think the other night from one of the truckers that 87% are mom and pops. They're not big corporate truckers. 87% of truckers in America are not working for big corporations like FedEx or like the big, transportation companies. They're mom and pop independent contractor guys hauling their loads down the road.
According to the American Trucking Association, only 99% of America's 350,000 truckers are independent contractors or owner co-operators. Which, yeah.
And I can tell you that regardless of vaccine status, most of those guys are against the mandate.
So what's the plan when we get to D.C.?
We're not going to D.C. for obvious reasons. We're going toward D.C. and into an area that's probably a little more hospitable than D.C. has been. And I think the plan at that point is to reassess as we get near to there and see what next steps are. If administrations are lifting mandates and starting to loosen restrictions and going in the right direction, that'll probably bode for one path versus another path. But I want to reiterate that this group of truckers, this convoy, the People's Convoy, is 100% peaceful.
Right. What are your thoughts about what's going on in Ukraine right now?
I think the timing is very interesting that, I'm sure if I were a sitting president in America and I looked at what happened to Trudeau in Canada and him trying to write it off as a fringe small minority, only to have 50,000 trucks going and, be a laughingstock amongst his own people.
There was literally not even 50,000. Like, maybe nationwide at most. But, there was not 50,000. And a bunch of, even before this, even before the stuff that happened last month, people still were making fun of him. So that's not even true.
And I would be saying things like, oh, I think the truckers are infiltrated and they're not really going to get here, and we're going to have a huge response in D.C. to dissuade anybody from coming, and then, wow, look, Russia and Ukraine, look at that going off.
How do you guys raise funds for this whole thing?
It's thepeoplesconvoy.org, and the good, law-abiding, God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans who want to support them, and all stripes, all races, all creeds, they've been going there to donate, and they can do that. Or a lot of the folks just come out to these rallies, like the one we're having tonight, and they just stuff cash in the kitty for the truckers to put fuel in their tanks.
Are you an American? Do you believe in freedom? And are you freaking willing to fight for it?
Bro, this is crazy.
Thank you.
Peacefully, because I know we're on the radar of every triple-letter organization from coast to coast right now.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I got friends that are from Ukraine and Russia. It's not a good guy, bad guy story. It's like all bad players.
Yeah.
What's the solution?
For sure.
The solution really is the gospel of Jesus Christ.
But it seems like Russia's definitely being the antagonist, right?
It seems like it, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
God bless you.
Same to you.
Can I ask you what you think about what's going on in Ukraine right now?
Well, what we do know is that Vladimir Putin is against the Bilderberg Group, and he's against the Rockefellers, and he's virtually against the Rothschilds. So what happens when Soros infiltrates your country? You stand up to it.
Yeah. What?
Soros has infiltrated our country. What Putin is not allowing is Soros to infiltrate his country.
Wait, what?
Freedom! Freedom!
These truckers are fighting for freedom, but make no damn mistake, they are fighting for something even more, even greater than that, and that is the right to be free from totalitarian takeover, and don't you forget it! God bless them! Freedom! Freedom!
these people are funny.
USA! 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 USA!
Last day, boys.
Oh, look. This is fucking dope. Oh, that's fucking awesome.
No. Oh no, man. Oh, that's no,
dude.
Oh, look, it's us.
Happy camper.
It's all loaded.
I'm gonna wear this and pinch people and ask for kisses.
Good evening, Matthew. Yeah, we're sitting right near the entrance to the Hagerstown Speedway, and we can see people continuing to file in here. Very big crowd that they're expecting to be a part of this convoy. And tonight, kind of that last full night that they can all get together here at Hagerstown Speedway.
All right, we're here now in Hagerstown, Maryland, about an hour outside of D.C. This was supposed to be the final checkpoint before all the truckers and the convoy goes to D.C. But I think people are going to stop for a day or two, figure out exactly how this is going to go down.
The vibe that we're getting here.
Wait, what? They didn't have that planned out beforehand? Oh my, I'm so dumb, man.
Here is amazing. If you're talking about this, another January 6th, this is it, man. Woo!
So what are you guys doing?
Come on in.
Oh, we're doing our live stream. You want to join?
I'll say hi.
All right, say hi.
Hey, Kelly J. Patriot from Southern California here, out in lovely Hagerstown,
That's right.
Maryland. So next Friday and Saturday, we'll be in San Diego doing the Reawaken America event. The Clay Clark, General Flynn, Mike Lindell, all the frontline doctors. Epoch Times seeks the truth, and I even have some of my friends at Channel 5. We've been working on them to spread the truth a little bit and doing a little political stuff with Kelly J. Patriot here.
Who's Kelly J. Patriot?
Kelly J. Patriot is a friend of a guy I know by the name of Kelly Johnson, who, not an alter ego, but it's just me. It's been like 2 years of...
Of course he would have an alter ego, man. Of course. Oh no.
Of Opposite Day and Groundhog Day all at once. So in any case, hey, the point being, this is all about the truckers. Canada started it. The United States is going to finish it. And more people need to come back to the Lord. That's where we need to be. I mentioned to you, I think, before, Andrew, but I have a condition. I don't know if I ever told you about this.
What's the condition?
I have ADED.
What's that?
Love, honor, and protected by the Lord all day, every day. ADED, all day, every day. We need more people. I also have a heart condition, too. I don't know if I ever told you about that.
What's that?
I have an FSR. FSR heart condition. Heard of that?
Please tell me.
I have a fierce, strong, and resurrected heart right here. God bless America. Jess, good seeing you guys.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Interviewers interviewing interviewers. Interviewers interviewing interviewers. Round 2.
All right, guys, we are
Oh
at
no.
Capitol right now. We're gonna go back in. Got nice. I'm the only one with a shield, so I don't know why.
Oh, America is so hopeless, man. Like, they are so dumb.
No one else brought a shield, but I brought one just in case they start shooting. So make sure if you ever take over the Capitol or any other big place, make sure you bring a shield. You can't get this anywhere except for the cops' hands.
It's unbelievable what's going on out
You know, that makes me wonder how he got the shield even more.
here.
It's crazy what's going on. What's going on?
I don't know, a lot of trucks coming out here. They look like they're all drunk. I tell you one thing, they're still coming in, and I'm wondering what's inside these trucks. That's the question, Andrew.
Flags and hats.
I don't know.
It's not from China.
I'm hoping it's metal. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
You know what I'm talking about. I mean, you know, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
What's your
no.
dream for DC?
Oh, my dream. You really want to know? I'll tell you what it is. My dream is to see the U.S. Army go in there with the veterans and get rid of Biden and Obama. You know, Obama's like what, really doing it, right?
Wait, what?
And bring Trump back in and take over the White House. That's right. That's the dream, and that's what should have happened because they stole their fucking election.
What do you think's gonna
This guy is still an election denier? It's fucking crazy to me, man.
happen whenever all these truckers like make their way to DC?
I think a lot of people are going to commit to go around the Beltway because they're maybe a little scared to go in DC. Look what happened with Canada. I mean, Canada, they shut down your bank accounts, they arrested you.
Rightfully
I don't know.
so.
I feel like that's what they think that's going to happen to them, if you think about it. Other than that, they're waiting for them. We were just in DC for the past 3 or 4 days, and you got military police all over the place. They got snow, they got plow trucks ready to go to block traffic. So,
How you guys doing? Good. How you doing? Good. We're just talking to people trying to figure out what the plan is from here on.
Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Do we have media amongst us? Please tell me what media group you guys are with.
We're an independent YouTube channel called Channel 5.
Okay, Channel 5, nothing to do with Channel 5 from Boston, Massachusetts?
No, we live in an RV together, us 3 guys.
So the question is,
What's the plan now?
as far as this convoy, Freedom Convoy 22, going into D.C., what's the actual plan? Why are we here? To stop medical tyranny in this country.
No, totally. I mean, like, on the schedule it said tomorrow we're supposed to go to DC, but I'm hearing now.
Lee Dundas and the retired generals with the logistics that are actually organizing this. The latest we heard, we're going to go around the belt, around DC, staying out of DC, the District of Columbia, which has nothing to do with this country. This is almost like a tactical warfare that we're doing.
The day of January 6th, there was a motorcade of Antifa that came up in white freaking buses and got out of the buses. It was pre-fucking planned.
Wait, what? That literally didn't happen, though. We saw who was there.
And we're afraid of these infiltrators because it happened on January 6th. I was there.
Of course he was there.
People's Convoy, final day. We're here. What are they gonna do? I guess we'll see.
Kid Rock! Woo!
We the people!
Bro, this is crazy. Oh my god, this is crazy, man.
Can I ask you what the plan is for today?
Yeah.
What's the plan?
Get it done. Get it done.
The plan is about to be told here in about 5 minutes.
What do you hope they say?
I hope they say, let's go drive around the Beltway at least once. What we're here for is freedom. What we're here for is to take down the Emergency Powers Act. What we're here for is accountability.
Bro, that's like, is that even an American thing? Like, I know it's like sort of a Canadian thing from like the Emergencies Act, but I don't know if America has something like that. I mean, maybe they do, I don't know.
Not just for the economic damage that was done to America, but for individual damages that were done by this freaking jab.
So what's the plan?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm just here, and whatever they tell me to do, I just do. You know, I mean, I'm here to stand up for freedom, and that's what I'm here for.
He's a sheep, brother.
I come from Missouri, so I came down here on $200, and that was it. I don't know. I just go along with what needs to be done.
Would you say that you're more of a leader or a follower?
I'm actually book smart and street smart. So I've lived on the streets most of my life, but I've been to school. If you speak from the heart, you always tell the truth.
True, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you
I
too,
figured you
man.
guys would be down here. I got a park too. Do you want? I'll go park where you're at.
Okay, follow me.
Good morning. Freedom!
You want to go ambush Evan? Evan's talking to a Proud Boy right now, so we can't
Oh, no.
hang out with him, but look at him.
I'm a Dayton Proud Boy.
Bro, look at how fucking big they are. Oh man, these are the people that helped with fucking January 6th and shit. Bro, this is fucking nuts.
Dayton chapter. Great bunch of guys. The Proud Boys get a bad rap. Are there racists in the Proud Boys? Yeah, probably.
All of
I was
them?
dating a lady from the Dominican Republic when I pledged, and
they accepted her and me with open arms.
I mean, yeah, only because they can use her as like someone to deflect to, being like, no, we're not racist. See,
You know, we got one chapter who the president is gay. Basically, what the Proud Boys are is just a bunch of guys being guys.
Were you in a frat in college?
No.
Would you consider yourself like a late bloomer then?
In every single way of that word. There are things I disagree with, like gay marriage. You know, I disagree with that on a biblical basis. But we're going to peacefully drive around Washington, D.C. today.
At this point, they have military
Caleb.
generals involved in the actual planning. So this is basically a military operation. If they're going to have this kind of power and force and metal and these trucks and the patriots and the people, this is an early stage of warfare.
We're not there to block traffic. We're not there to cause havoc. We're just there to say, hey, we're here.
How are we going to make a statement without blocking traffic?
But that's not the main purpose. You know, when a country starts.
wait, what? That was like the entire main purpose of it. Like, come on, at least look into it a little bit, my guy.
Starts acting goofy, we start moving fleets in. You know, are they there to fight? Possibly. I'm saying to the Proud Boy from Ohio.
They work for us.
Today's delay was based on convoy security concerns. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Uh-oh.
It was concerns of reports that we were getting last night coming in here. There were concerns about people trying to come into the gate that didn't belong here, if you know what I mean. This is the people's convoy. This is for the people.
So wait, then who was it then? I wonder.
Over the next several hours, lots of planning is going to be occurring behind the scenes.
So Lee Dundas, who's been one of the main leaders with Brian Brossi since the inception, apparently it came to a head earlier this week, and Lee's no longer involved with the convoy. And apparently I heard that she didn't want anything to do with D.C. Maybe she thought they were going to get a little warm, a little close, and she just didn't want to be involved in that. Once again, because of her legal background. She got the whole thing going. She supported it. She came out the whole way. We saw her in Indianapolis. You interviewed her there. And
it just seems crazy and a little bit somewhat suspicious, maybe I'm wrong, that Lee brought us all here up to this point. We're so close to DC, and now Lee's gone.
It is what it
I mean, that generally tends to happen, though. Of course they don't want to get their hands dirty. Because then their reputation is not as great. And people don't take them seriously then.
It is, and in war, you lose a corporal, you lose a sergeant, you lose a general. Everybody else keeps going.
Why does he think there's going to be wars so badly? Oh my god, no. This guy is nuts, man.
Now, there's been concerns about four-ways blinking because it's hard. Brake lights. For whatever reason, if you got your four-ways on, you can't see brake lights. If you could please throw on your four-ways, then do your lane change and get out of the convoy. So for anybody out there in the world thinking that you're going to interfere with this convoy, just know you are being watched.
How can we tell when someone's trying to interfere?
Bro.
When they get in front of you and slam on the brake, that's a good indication that they're trying to interfere. We're moving 55 miles per hour. We're going slower than anybody else on the beltways.
Why are we going so slow?
Why? We went 45 miles per hour all the way across this country. Not to mention, we're not here just to go for a joyride. We're out here to make a statement. So doing 65, 70 mile an hour doesn't tell anybody nothing. So we're going slow, and we're taking 2 lanes up to let the world know we're here and we mean business.
They're trying to get his picture. This is fucking awesome.
Here we go. Slow roll
trucker protest, final day. We're headed to D.C. Lee Dundas is gone. Kelly says the military's working with us, but I don't know. Evan asked why they're going so slow. We're hitting the freeway. Here we go.
Are you tired of talking to...
I am tired of talking to patriots and Proud Boys and truckers, but, you know, I tried to hear them out. There was
I mean, I can't blame him. If I talked to him as much as he did, I would be in the same boat.
some good points. Oil is expensive. Gas is expensive. They're pissed off and they love freedom. And they're working with the police and the military.
Apparently.
We're working with the police and the military to take down the government.
They're working with the police and the military to take down the government.
American hogs are awesome, man.
Yeah, dude.
Double
We're
that.
saving America.
I'm here with the homie Ron. A lot of people don't know Ron yet, but you guys should because he helped us film a ton of our movie.
Hey boys, what we getting ready to do?
Stop the fucking steal.
Watch your step.
Hopefully it'll come out soon. It's in the final stages of post-production. Right now, Tim and Eric and are working on packaging that up and distributing it and figuring out where to put it, whether it's theaters or streaming or whatever. So Ron's been doing a lot of different shit. He also was at the Canadian protests in Ottawa.
Yeah.
How do you feel about what you've seen so far here, man?
No, man, hey, dude, I went to Canada, didn't really know what to expect. They were nice, they were pleasant, they were peaceful, but they were focused. And so when I kind of joined this American convoy back in Adelanto, California, it seemed like there was a lack of like unity. I mean, they were together, but there wasn't like
It definitely seems like it for sure.
a unified message. You know, you hear COVID-related stuff on one end, and then just general Patriot Parade, Freedom Fest. I just wanted to know what the point of this is. Yesterday, we just drove around the Beltway, and I couldn't really see the point in spending tens of thousands of dollars on fuel to drive cross country to drive around a freeway.
Yeah, I mean, the Beltway is a weird place to drive around because it's like not even a trade route. It just basically separates DC from the suburbs of the DMV. So they're just driving around. So whenever we were in Indiana, we posted something on Instagram that showed a lot of patriots talking about how they think that the war in Ukraine is staged and that Putin's a good guy and he's taken out the deep state.
Those people
And you
are
told us
fucking
about-
nuts, too.
Just tell us what you told us about.
Like, Russia is obviously really good at this propaganda shit, right?
Mhm.
They are talented, and they're just going into these Telegram channels and pumping these people with misinformation and disinformation. There's maybe 5 to 10 Telegram channels revolving around truckers and freedom convoys, whether it's the Dutch one I follow, the European one, the Canadian one, several USA ones. But then you have random members hopping in talking about, you know, New World Order, George Soros, Zelensky's ties to the Bidens, and how they're not to be trusted, essentially, that the war is fake. We're seeing propaganda from the West to vilify Putin because Putin is really there to save the Ukrainians.
No,
Hey.
he's not.
Go ahead.
God bless America.
What are you doing here?
I want to see the truckers.
For sure, you like the truckers?
I do.
What's your favorite thing about them?
What they're standing for.
What exactly are they doing here?
What they're doing here is drawing attention. And if you notice, most of the media is glossing over what's happening or being very negative in what's happening. So, you know, they're bringing attention to the fact that our freedoms are being eroded for a fluke.
But most of the mask mandates and the vaccine restrictions are being lifted, like right now in most
At
states.
the moment, yes. But who knows what will happen tomorrow? Remember, there's an election coming up.
I mean, maybe.
Thank you.
You bet.
I mean, maybe the midterms in the U.S., but like outside of that, I don't think so. Well, I guess that's it. That's probably going to be it for today as well. Well, thanks for those who stopped by and hang out, and we'll have some more fun hopefully on Monday again. All right, take care.